How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural special Cryptids and Crafts. I am Famine from Famine Studios. How are you all doing tonight? I am glad to see there's some people already waiting in the chat on this lovely Friday. Let's see, we've got our friend Bjorn already here, ready to rough some people up. We love to see it. 3.75 in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We've got Rad here. Rad's, you're up late, my friend. I know it's late for you. Thank you for tuning in. Anthony, how's it going? How's it going tonight? Welcome, welcome. It's going to be a different episode. You guys who are familiar with Famine Studios and what I usually do here, you know I usually do the toy stuff, and I will be doing toy stuff tonight. We're going to continue to work on this diorama that we started in the trash bashing live stream, but I'm going to do a little storytelling here. Of course, the episode today is about, you know, the Mothman, and I want to go ahead and just share a little bit of lore, share some opinions and things that I have here, and should be pretty good. I'm excited about this because the Mothman's always been something that I have been fascinated with, right? It's a giant winged creature that people talk about to this day. You know, even so much as recently it's been cited in Chicago, people who absolutely are afraid to lose their jobs are still willing to come forward and report what they've seen because that's how bizarre it was to them, right? That's a crazy thought. Like, I'm willing to give up my gig, my dinner right there, get that out of the way. You know, I might lose my gig, but I am going to tell about this because it was one of the scariest things that they'd ever seen. And these are like, you know, normal people with actual jobs. It's not, you know, old Billy Bob from down the road who's been drinking paint thinner for 6 weeks, but, you know, he's never talked about this. He does talk about the little green men that come to visit. Not to just, you know, discount that, but it's one of those things that's strange. And so, we'll get to Indrid. We'll get to Indrid Cold. We're going to go all over the map on this. It's going to be like Charlie with the chart in the background. But before we get started, if you haven't already, and I do see we're 7 for 7 on the likes, appreciate that so freaking much. I do want to welcome everybody to this spooky stream. Like I said, we're trying something out. This should be exciting. If you like this stuff, make sure to like it. If you're going to be here for the cryptid stuff, please subscribe. This hopefully will be more. I mean, the fact that 7 of you guys were waiting here banging on the door to get in is always nice. So let's get right into it. I mean, I've got notes and everything, but the year was, you know, 1966. It was a November night, the first official documented sighting of the Mothman. It was in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Now, Point Pleasant's like a small town, let's be honest. Point Pleasant is not like New York City. It's not like, you know, even Albany or Asheville, North Carolina or anything like that. It is a small town in West Virginia. The most notable thing is that during World War II, they had munition sites there that were helping with the war effort. But beyond that, it is the Mothman. And then the tragedy that came immediately after. There was two couples actually, who were out driving on the night of November 16th. Their names were Steve and Mary Millette and Roger and Linda Scarberry. They were out for a drive. They decided to go hang out in what was called the TNT area. Now, the TNT area is a location of these giant concrete mounds that were super thick walls and hollow inside to keep munitions in. And heaven forbid there was an explosion. These giant monolithic structures were built for that. And then they were abandoned after the war. And people used them as like a hangout site and a make-out site and places like that. Now, people... Bjorn's here for the cats. There are 2 cats currently sleeping next to me over there. I've got the window cracked a little bit, and they were up there playing in the window, looking out. Now they're taking naps. So I think Mama Snow is going to keep an eye in case Mothman, not this cute little plush Mothman, but in case the real Mothman turns up. So anyway, we're at the TNT site. Now, if you've ever seen any documentaries about the Mothman or been to the TNT sites, you guys will know they're just like big, round, creepy things. And people will go there and hang out, drink beers, smoke weed, you know, do what teenagers do when they have nothing better to do. So these couples, you know, they're out during the night, they're hanging out, and they're smoking weed. Let's be honest. Linda was definitely upfront about it. Roger was too. Steve and Mary finally, when asked, talked about it. essentially they were high and they spotted something um, that we would know to be called the Mothman. They spotted the 7 foot tall giant thing with, huge red eyes, and the eyes were so domineering of the face, they couldn't even make out a face. They just knew one was there, but it had these red eyes. And one thing that I see, and when I researched this when I was way back in school, yes, igloos. Thank you, Aunt. I should let you produce. Back when I was in school, when I first started reading about Mothman, that was one of the things is that they talked about its size, like 7 feet tall, just a good estimate, 7 foot tall. I am just about 6 foot, depending on which gas station, if I stretch that day. I could not, my best friend Derek is 6'4", I believe, 6'3", 6'4". I couldn't imagine a whole nother foot over him, right? With red eyes, and it's huge. And then another thing that they said, which stuck out to me in this first report, and I want you to hang on to this, is that it had big white wings. And they sat there looking at it, and they were getting creeped out, so they got in their car, and, they started driving away. Like, let's get the hell out of here. And then one of the girls looked out of the car and noticed that they were, in fact, being followed by this giant man. It had taken off. They said it wasn't making any noise when it left the ground. It didn't even flap the wings, but it was suddenly over their vehicle and keeping up speed with them. They panicked, which, fucking doomsday bird flying over top of them. And what do? They're like, we're going to head to town. So they said that they could hear just the wind passing over its wings, and also a mechanical noise, like a record player almost. That fascinates me, right? Because birds don't make record player sounds. Maybe parrots do. Birds that can mimic noises. There's also, what's the name of that? Ravens and crows can mimic human sounds depending. But the fact that this thing was considered 7 feet tall. Now, there is red sandhill cranes. They are not overly populated at that area at that time. They are pretty tall. The biggest sandhill crane I've ever seen is around, under my height. I've also seen blue heron. They don't have the red eyes. So I've seen some big words, cassorais. Those things are terrifying. Thank God there's none in the United States except in zoos, because, man, I wouldn't go outside. Those things are like devil kangaroos. But they see this thing, and now it's following their car over them, and so they're flooring it, hitting like 80 miles per hour, which, back in the 60s, those old vehicles, they were, that was pedal to the ground. They were going. They go to the police station after they finally lose this thing. Once they saw the lights in town, Mothman backed off, so they floor it to the police station. They go in and tell the cops, and the cops are like, okay. And they're like, no. Like, this is how serious we are. We were out there doing a very illegal thing for the 60s, which was the 60s reefer madness, smoking the devil's lettuce. Like, that was a no-no. They're out there admitting to this, and they're like, this fucking thing was out there. And the cops are like, okay, what's going on? So what do? These people were so adamant that they had seen this. They get back in the car and they go back and they see the thing again. It's in a different spot this time, and it follows them. So this happened, and they eventually, the story hits like the news the next day. It hits the newspapers. The headline is like, I truly think it was like, local couple sees giant bird or something, the TNT area. And this kicked off what could be argued as hundreds of sightings. We're going to get into why I say could be argued in a little bit. There's plenty of people that came forward after the fact, after the tragedy that we're going to talk about that happened. And a lot of the belief about Mothman is that Mothman was a harbinger of doom for this event happening. Whether or not the Mothman caused it, whether, it was something else entirely, it was there at the time, according to these people. And we're going to get into that. So people started reporting after November, it was November 15th. After November 15th, people started reporting seeing this giant fucking creature. And one of the people had seen that it had giant wings like a bat, called the police and was like, hey, there's this Batman looking thing up on my roof. I can see it. It was over on my neighbor's roof. You might want to call, might want to send a squad car out. So somehow this hits the newspaper. Instead of Batman, they ran with the name Mothman, and it stuck. So people started seeing this. And now at the same time, right outside of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, some weird shit started happening. People started seeing UFOs, but not like just like, oh, there goes a UFO or UAP, whatever they're called now. Here comes this UFO on a back road, and it parks, and this man gets out, this really tall man. He goes up and leans over to the car and starts talking to the occupants of the car, and he's smiling, and he's got this very like superficial smile. But he's not talking with his mouth. People can hear him in their minds. They're saying that, he was communicating telepathically, which to me sounds fucking bananas, right? So that would horrify me. Whether or not they were like, yo, we come in peace, we're good. So they've got this happening. And one of the people said that this gentleman, after he got done asking his weird questions, because they were all like weird, not small talky questions, but really strange, like, where are you from? What do you do for a living? Completely ignoring the fact that there were a UFO in a parking lot or in the middle of the road, just parked in the middle of the road, talking to somebody. And one of them was told by this man that his name was Indrid Cold. Now, keep Indrid Cold in mind, because again, this was happening just outside of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and people are having these Mothman sightings. Now, it's getting closer to December. The sightings are up. People are actually getting in their cars and going and having like Mothman spotting parties over by the TNT area. They're sitting around the outskirts of town. Some of the local police were getting involved when they were off duty. I read a couple of reports actually, where people would bring rifles with them. This obviously could have escalated and been horrible comparative to what it was. But people were like freaked out, right? Because that's a freaky thing. I mean, no, if somebody was like, hey, there's a giant fucking spooky bird monster out there, I'd be like, neat, lock my windows and mind my fucking business, because that type of critter is none of my business. I'm fascinated by them inside. So people are trying to get a glimpse of this thing. It's become like the talk of the town. And then the phone call started. People were getting phone calls and picking it up, and there was no answer there, or there was clicking, there was static, television signals dropping out, power flickering on and off, all kinds of weird shit. And yeah, Bjorn, that like in the 60s and 70s, that's like a popular thing. It's that movie trope, right? Like, oh, there's a scary killer people are talking about, so the guy will put on like a ski mask and scare his girlfriends. Haha, funny. Absolutely could have happened like that. Someone could have dressed up like Mothman and gotten smoked. That's it. Like they could have gotten, undone, injured. That's it. So these weird phone calls start happening. People around town, they start saying that they like feel strange. They're, it's just things don't seem right. And that's a really weird thing for everyone to have. And I say everyone because these were people interviewed after the fact, right? There's not a ton of like live news stories or live news reports during the time when these sightings were taking place, if any at all. I couldn't find any where people were like, yeah, I was talking to my neighbors and everybody just feels unsettled. Like there's none of that. These were all after matter of fact interviews. There is a thing that happens where I'm sure you guys know, after a tragedy, people want to, whether it's conscious or subconscious, they want to be like, I knew something was wrong with that guy. He always struck me as weird. That type of thing. And it's like, well, really? So everybody was feeling bad and weird. And then these things are happening, and Indrid Cold is like continuing on conversations with people, and he's talking, and he's made a friend. And for the life of me, I can't remember the friend's name. And I probably should have been a good reporter and written this down, but I didn't. But basically, There's argument on whether or not the phone calls and all these weird things were in relation to Indrid Cold, and if they were any involvement with Mothman, right? Were they there to see him? Were they tied? Was it another alien? Like, it's a weird thing to have happened next to it. I believe in coincidence to a certain point, but after a certain point, like, shit stacks up, right? It adds up. It's really weird. So we're getting towards December 15th, and this is the thing that happened. And this is, I want to bring up, I want to show these slides here. I got a couple of pictures. Come on, show the slide. Oh, I have to take myself. Can you hear me now? Maybe? Yes, no? Audio? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Anybody? Yes. Okay, you can hear me. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this one picture here. So you notice this thing does not have white wings, is what I was saying. So the first reports, excuse me, were that people saw this thing and it had white wings. Now, every report that I could find after, everything that was confirmed or identified was saying that this thing had black leathery wings. Now, whether or not that's people can't see this thing, maybe they're just so shook by the giant flapping monster that, you know, they can't, or if they're reporting their stories because it sounded like, you know, yeah, I saw something, and I guess it was like what Joe said he saw. We don't quite know. And it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case, but there were so many people seeing this that it probably has to be something. Now, these sightings are happening. People are having phone calls. Their power's dropping. They're having weird shit happen outside their cars. They're seeing the creature outside of their, you know, homes, like standing on cars, standing in between cars, just weird shit, right? And for those keeping score, when I did this, I put some cardstock from a box of Texas Toast. I cut a bunch of little sci-fi type panels to make some flooring there, and I'm Mod Podging that now so I can put paint on it later. And to get back to the story, this thing's happening all over the place, and there's no, that I can find, no real direct correlation between the Indrid Cold stuff, except for when it ended. And the ending came on December 15th, the same year, exactly from the 15th of November to the 15th of December in 66, about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, excuse me. Everybody's getting out of work. People are going home for the holidays. They're getting ready to cross into Ohio. People, you know, drive back and forth on that bridge every day. For whatever reason, there was a traffic jam. The traffic jam was not a normal occurrence from what I can hear. And then the bridge collapsed. the most horrific thing that had happened within the country. So many people died. Like it was horrific. 46 people died. They pulled, I think they got all but 2 bodies out of the water. They couldn't find 2 people, but it was like a nightmare. It was the worst thing that happened to this small town. Again, like I said, Point Pleasant was not a huge bustling metropolis by any stretch of the imagination. It was a place that people went to work, went to school, small town. And the sightings of both Mothman and Indrid Cold stopped for Point Pleasant, West Virginia. This horrible, horrible tragedy happened, and that was it. That was it for them. You know, no more Mothman sightings. People weren't talking about that anymore. It seemed like the moth was the least consequential thing that had happened in that town. Now they came together and they had this awful tragedy, which happens when there are horrific tragedies in the world. And I'm sure you guys know, you know, probably if you've lived in a small town, if like there's a fire or something, people like to come together. And this was just, you know, tenfold of that. And something good that came out of that was it actually caused them to adopt a bridge inspection policy for the entire country so that hopefully this wouldn't happen again, because they blamed the collapse on some rusty bolts and some threads that weren't correct, some aluminum that wasn't well kept. And it was tragic. But here's the thing. Mothman may have left Point Pleasant, but it didn't stop. There was a sighting in New York, not New York City, but in upstate New York, many years later, before a major incident out there. There have been sightings in Russia. There have been rumored sightings around Chernobyl. Chernobyl, of course, being what it is, there's all kinds of people say all kinds of weird shit. People say that it's tied to UFO activities. Some people claim that they've seen UFOs and then seen Mothman at other times. But some of the most recorded, more recent sightings have been around Chicago and Lake Michigan. Now, it makes you wonder, like, what the hell is going on if this truly is Mothman? Like, and the people that reporting are like people that work for air traffic control, people that work for news agencies, people who are real grown people with stuff to lose by being seen as a kook for reporting seeing Mothman. And yet these people are coming forward, so much so. And I came across this when I was doing my research, and I'm going to share this page with you. Let's see here. Share screen right here. So there is a map of all these sightings, right, in this area. And you can see there's 167 sightings of Mothman, like a flapping giant red-eyed moth. And there's 167 different links. Some people call it an owl man, giant bat. And that is fascinating to me because it all seems to be in this area here, around water, and over here by bridges. Now, that's fascinating because, like, if I'm a lot of Bjorn, I'm sure out of the 167, there's probably some who are just doing it for attention. I do not discredit that whatsoever. That is a very valid question, as with anything. You know, people who say that they've seen Bigfoot or, you know, have seen the Loch Ness Monster, things like that. Like, it's valid to question the validity of their claims. And I can't vouch for all their claims, but there are credited reports, again, like I said, by people who work for news agencies, people who work for airlines and air traffic control, work security at places, who have seen this thing and are like scared to lose their jobs, but also like, hey, this really freaky fucking red glowing eyed creature keeps appearing. Like, it's not normal. Maybe we should do something about it. And that to me is fascinating. I know over in Russia, not just Chernobyl, but it was what, 99? I think it was in 1999. Let me read my notes here. Russians. Oh, the apartment bombings in Russia, and I think it was in 1999. There was sightings of something that was like a Mothman. People talked about it. Whether or not it is, maybe it was a irradiated moth from the Chernobyl the Chernobyl site. Who's to say? But the fact that this thing keeps appearing, it's much more than lore now. Like I know Point Pleasant has kind of become not reliant but appreciative of the fascination that people have with the Mothman, right? They have people that show up for a yeah, there are a lot of bars there. You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. They have festivals in town in Point Pleasant. Now that it's Mothman is in Fallout, they have the big block party and people show up in Fallout cosplay and people go there on monster hunts and stuff. And it's definitely a boon for the local economy. It's definitely something that helps. And there were plenty of people who after the fact came forward and said, hey, I had interactions with this injured cold guy. I also had men in black show up. I had federal agents show up at my house and basically tell me to shut my mouth and that I didn't see anything or ask me all kinds of weird questions. There are these really pale men with strange features that come to my door and ask basically lifeless questions to me and then tell me that not to talk to anybody, that they've seen me. All kinds of weird things happen like that. And it's interesting because, again, like I said, these comments are coming out after the fact, right? And you cannot discredit them for that, but you can take a closer look at it. Like, sure, plenty of people want their 5 minutes of fame, but do you want your 5 minutes of fame so bad that you're willing to put your reputation on the line and be like, yeah, I saw the spooky man or the government came to talk to me? Like, hey, Axion, welcome. If you have any, Red, thank you for inviting somebody. If you have any Mothman lore or experiences or anything that you want to share with the chat, please throw it in. I will pop it up on the screen. We can have an absolute discussion. I was just talking about the supposed visits from Men in Black that people were having after the incidents that happened in Point Pleasant and at the Silver Bridge. It is strange that these things did happen, and that seems to be almost the kickoff, the injured cold situation that was happening between that and the Mothman seemed to be the kickoff for the idea of the Men in Black showing up and talking to people and basically saying, hey, don't say anything, you didn't see anything. But these comments that people were making about these Men in Black coming to visit them did not turn up in a lot of cases until after the book, The Mothman Prophecies, was published. That to me is suspect. That's a little suspicious, and that's kind of hot. We could talk about that on OnlyFamins later, okay? Or we could talk about it now, whatever you're into. But like that to me is suspect. Like why? Yeah, and like I said, they have that festival, and it's people go and touch the shiny hiney of the Mothman, like the booty on that thing. That thing is caked up on a Tuesday. It's got a 16-pack on the front. It's shiny. People leave beans. I guess that became a meme for a while. They leave beans there for the Mothman at the statue. There is a Mothman museum right there. It's also accessible in the Fallout 76 video game. They modeled it exactly like that. And if you go to the museum, they have a poster that is a direct tie-in with Fallout. That's kind of like their exclusive thing. I digress. So all these like extra Men in Black stories come out after the fact that there's a book and it gets national attention. Like, it's crazy hearing about things like Mothman, Loch Ness Monster, Roswell, Men in Black, the children with the black eyes, all these like spooky things that happen. Once there's a book about it, it's a national bestseller, shit comes to light, right? And it's almost like, are these things true and people are talking about them because they're no longer afraid because it's a hit? Or is it a case of, well, because it's a hit, let me tell a little tall tale, right? And, oh yeah, I don't know. I saw him. It was freaky, you know. And my neighbor, Gladys, she passed away, but she remembers she was certainly on the phone with me. It's a weird thing, but like Axion, and am I saying Axion right here? Axion says, with even if a tiny percentage of it's true, there's something to it. Like, you know, I've heard about people talking about Bigfoot and how maybe the reason we can't find Bigfoot is because they're ultra terrestrial. They're not from Earth, and so they travel interdimensionally. Neat. That'd be really cool and freaky if true. Maybe that's what Mothman is. Maybe that's Mothman appears as a harbinger, and then vanishes, right? It comes almost to serve a warning or to observe. Maybe it's just an observer that shows up and witnesses these things. Maybe it's you know, maybe it feeds on fear and it doesn't know why, like with any animal. All kinds of weird shit could be true. And I think that's one of the things that fascinates me so much about this, because it's continuing to this day. There are people who are seeing it in other places. There's events where it's allegedly been seen and it doesn't seem to be letting up. And like when I pulled that map of Chicago area where I showed you and Lake Michigan, like, it's concentrated and it's there. Now, we do live in a world, we can't forget that we do live in a world now where there are drones that are shaped like Superman that can fly around. We do live in a world where there are people who have jetpacks, right? It's, you know, been proven. There's been footage recorded over airports where like air traffic control is scrambling to figure out who this person with a jetpack is flying in their area. Because, like, sure, that's neat, but that could affect all sorts of traffic patterns. You could crash into an airplane, cause a disruption. Like, there's a million reasons why you shouldn't do that. So we have this world, and it could be a hoax. A lot of it could be a hoax. I don't think the first people, whatever they saw, I don't think they were lying. Whether or not it was a 7 to 8 foot giant moth creature that didn't flap its wings, that was hanging around a TNT site is beyond me, right? Could it be that they did see something? Maybe it was a sandhill crane. Maybe it was a giant owl. Maybe it was an eagle. You know, it could be a variety of things. But the fact that this thing kept up speed and, you know, thing keeps up speed, follows them. They go back and see it again. Other people start claiming to see it. There's got to be something to some of it. And whether or not that was a thing that happened and people just never saw it again, but people are saying that they did because they want to be part of the limelight, and it was, you know, an instance in history and an instance in time, you know, what the fuck was that, right? Like no matter what, it's still like, okay, let's look at this historical event that happened, this horrible thing in this world, and it just vanished like right after that happened. Did people just stop talking about it? Did the Mothman fly away? Did the Mothman cause it? You know, there was the hoaxed photo or supposedly edited photo of the moth being sighted on the bridge, the Mothman being sighted on the bridge for the longest time. And that image is burned into a lot of people, and a lot of people directly credit the collapse of the Silver Bridge to Mothman. And I just don't know. Like, I'd love for it to be real, right? I'd love that there's just this spooky terrestrial, you know, whether it's ultra terrestrial, extraterrestrial, fucking giant winged moth creature that's just out there and it's a cryptid and it's around. That'd be so cool. But also, like, it's kind of fucking scary, right? Like, think about that. If there's something out there in this universe and in our world, on our planet, that turns up around tragedy, people see it, people get scared, awful things happen somewhere, and then it vanishes. Like, I wouldn't want to be one of the people to see the goddamn thing. I'd never want to see it, because that means that something awful is going to happen. If that's the case, if the pattern follows, like... So Axion says that they've seen Squatch a few times. He's absolutely out there, whether he's terrestrial or extraterrestrial. Spend enough time in the forest alone, you'll see things. Absolutely. A true, undisputed one. I live in upstate New York, The Environmental Conservation Association out here will not admit, despite dozens on dozens of game cameras that have pictures of it, people getting footprint impressions in their yard. We have cougars, big cats, panthers, whatever you want to call it. They have them on camera. People have their tracks. People have had them attack their animals. People have found deer ripped up with cat claw marks, those meat hooks that big cats have, bite marks into the bone, giant pointed teeth that come from big cats. The state says, no, they're not here. They can't, they don't live in this ecosystem. They're not from here. You must be mistaken. It's probably a lynx or a bobcat. It's not. I was camping up in way by my buddy's cabin. We were staying there. We went into town to get dinner. Nobody was drinking. Nobody was smoking weed. We were coming back. It was only like 9 o'clock at night, so it was just dark enough. We came up the hill. Now, we're in an area where there are roads called Panther Creek Road because there were panthers in the area back when it was settled. We come up the road. There's a panther, cougar, whatever you want to call it, standing in the middle of the road crossing with two cubs. Not a deer, not a bobcat, not a lynx. It was higher than the headlights that were shining on it. Crossing, it was a big cat, a true big cat. Not just like, oh, it's a bobcat that got a little extra meat. No. And its cubs were crossing the road, and we all just got quiet. And my buddy's like, that's not a deer. I'm like, no, that's a big fucking cat. And he's like, yeah, that's a panther. We told the local guy who caretakes the property that it's on in the area. And he's like, yeah. And the NCON, they'll listen to me when I say I see eagles. They'll listen to me when I say I see deer or I catch somebody poaching. They will not listen to me when I say that there's these cats out here. It's the strangest thing. So like, if there's something like Bigfoot out there, some places have even enacted protections for Bigfoot against Bigfoot hunting. Like it is a punishable offense with jail time and like real penalties that you get locked away if you shoot a Bigfoot. Like that's how protected it is because they believe that there's something out there, whether or not it's that thing that people think it is, like a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or a skunk ape, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, okay, so you're from Western New York. I'm in the Albany area, just south of Albany. But we camp up in the Catskills to give you an idea of the area. So I'm sure you've been at least to the Catskills once if you lived in New York for any amount of time. Popular tourist area. But like, even if they say, okay, well, they're here, but they're not indigenous to New York State, they can come from Canada. You mean to tell me these things which are up there in Canada, they hit the Canadian border and go, oh, I don't have my passport, eh? Like, sorry, Rad. I like to tease. But like, you're really going to tell me that's what happens? That's what keeps them in? Please, these things are going to migrate. Same with moose. Moose migrate from Canada into Vermont, into Maine. We've had them in New York. We had one in Troy. We had a fucking moose in Troy, New York, a city. And you're going to tell me that there can't be something like that out there that, is so rare or so well hidden? We as a society, not even, we as humans, we think we're so clever and we've got everything figured out, and yet we still continue to discover new species. We continue to find these new things that exist out in this world. And, we're not even going to talk about the ocean. We can talk about the ocean another day, but like, there's so much out there that we don't know. We're still discovering new species of frogs and monkeys and cats and all kinds of weird, cool shit. So the idea that there's nothing, that we've got it all figured out, and when people see things, oh, it's got to be this other thing that we know about, right? Why? Why has it got to be that? Yeah. Yep. Could be. Or the screams in the woods, the screams and the banging on the trees. Yeah, the ocean's fucking scary. We'll have that discussion another day. Yeah, Nashville. I live, Albany is about an hour and 10 minutes just below Adirondack Park. and they are so vast and so gigantic. And so you can say that they're, inhabited. There are towns of like 1,000 people or whatever, but like it's empty there. You want woods and wilderness. You go out there, you will experience true wilderness, hundreds of thousands of acres around you with no buildings, no cell phone service, nothing. Actually, a friend of mine just passed away, Jamie Sheffield. He's a very, very well-known author, writes Adirondack Mysteries. His very first book is available. It's in my Instagram story. I'm trying to, help out his family. That's going to hit his bank account. But anyway, we camped together so many times in the Adirondack, and you're out there in the middle of nowhere and you hear things, and if you're not from the area, you're not acclimated, you won't know. And that's the thing. Like, if you hear something, like we actually had footprints. We took pictures of the footprints under my hammock of coyotes. They came so close. I could hear them sniffing while I was in my hammock, and I'm like holding onto my knife in one hand, and I've got something heavy for my bag in the other hand, because we didn't bring, a device with us, because we're in an Adirondack park. It is around a, lake/pond that people do sometimes camp at, and the rangers patrol through there. So unless you want to deal with 20 questions and all that stuff, if you have to use, but it's like, there were coyotes right underneath my hammock. Imagine what I couldn't hear, or if they were a little quieter, I would never know that they were there. Big, huge woods. And there were times where, my buddy Jamie would mention, like, oh yeah, we were camping, we were hearing things on the island in the middle of the lake, or, over this way, that I've never heard those sounds here, and, have been able to identify them. And like, yeah, that's hella cool, but that's also hella scary. Like, you're sitting there camping, and all of a sudden you're witness to something that's never been seen before. And it's like, all right, we're going to talk about this, or we keep this to ourselves. What do we do? Because this is strange and people aren't going to believe us. And that's like a weird thing to have happen to you too. Is like that wonder. Yeah, yes, absolutely. The cougars, that's the big thing that I've heard. I heard it from my grandfather. I heard it from his old hunting buddies. You hear people at the local diner when they talk about, again, you see them on the deer cameras up the road, and they just, they brought them down to get rid of the yotes and also the deer. I heard also that it was part of the deer problem too, when there was such an overpopulation that, couldn't be handled with. Couldn't be taken care of. So they brought in these cougars and let them loose. And they were like, hey, go ahead. And then they lost track of them, and they're like, oh shit. But again, they won't own up to it. And it's been over 100 years, right? So what the hell are they so afraid of owning up to that? I don't recall any human beings being ripped apart by big cats recently that they might be afraid of a lawsuit. Like, what's the deal? Why won't they take ownership of something so, arguably simple? I don't know. Yeah. And, I'll take my chances against one coyote. I say one, maybe even two. Anything other than that, it's going to be probably a picture wrap on famine. Thanks for coming out. Nice to know you. And it's not something I want to do, but it's like, I'm in nature. I'm in their backyard, right? Like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's nothing I have to say about it that I can handle. But it's just fascinating that we have these occurrences of creatures, cryptids like that. And so many people are seeing it now. It's like people that aren't just, small town folks with nothing to go on, but like big, and not to put more value on them than the next person, but like people in cities with larger careers, with more risk, of putting their names out there, putting their faces out there, of seeing this, and they're willing to come forward and go, hey, some weird shit's going on. Maybe we take a look at this. Maybe we address this. And it's still not largely being addressed because there's so many scientists and groups who are easily dismissive of these types of things, which is arguably fair. But at the same time, it's like, how many instances in this world are there where we keep discovering new shit and we go, oh, we didn't think this was possible at the time. We thought this was made up, or we thought this was another thing. And it turns out, no, it was this other thing, and some people were right. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And that's the thing is prey animals. Prey animals will work with also herbivores if it's beneficial to them to a certain extent, like safe crossing areas. There's plenty of documented instances where predators will wait not preying on herbivores like deer, elk, small rabbits and stuff. They will literally utilize passage with them to get through because they know that it's safe. They know that they will take the safest route to get places, and therefore they know that it's okay. And they'll literally follow deer right through those bridges and go to the, it's almost like the watering hole, right? Everything will go to the watering hole and they kind of won't fuck with each other while they're there. It's situations like that, which is like super fascinating. And it's like, damn, nature, you're neat, but also like, damn, nature, you're kind of scary. Like, could you imagine you're sitting there, you know, walking under a bridge or something, and here comes a cougar walking next to you, like, well, what's up, man? And he's on his way to work. I just, it fascinates me to no end. And whether or not, you know, the extra sightings of Mothman are true, like what is going on in Chicago, right? Like, what the hell? Is it somebody with a drone? Because you'd figure by now, there's a lot of experts out there who triangulate and do radio signal. I know a lot of ham operators are also getting into drones and drone tracking and things like that. You'd think they'd find, you know, who's firing up this radio at, you know, this certain time and flying this thing, or they'd see the reports come across the web and be able to triangulate where it's coming from. And I haven't heard a damn thing about it. And these appearances keep happening. They keep getting sightings. So, you know, what's going on out there? I don't know if anybody who's tuned in right now is from that area or watches Chicago or watches. Do you guys watch Chicago? You ever seen that movie, Chicago? Very cool. Go to Chicago, get a Chicago dog, get a deep dish pizza. It's like a casserole, but we call it pizza because we like to make New Yorkers upset. Okay, there. And yeah, just come to Chicago. Sorry if anybody's from Chicago. But if there's anybody that lives in Chicago and you've heard anything, please drop it in the chat, or anybody watching the replay on this, like, feel free to sound off because I am truly curious, you know. Yeah. You know, there's the stories of the islands in Canada. Oh, which islands? Like, my brain's not working right because it's late, and also I've had a really long, rough day, like I said. But you know, there was that very famous report of the Bigfoot on the island throwing boulders and tree limbs and stuff and attacking people from the island. Like, you know, I don't want to fuck around with that. Like, they can have that island. I don't need to be there. That's fine. That's cool. That's yours. Like, Squatch, that's all you, baby. Like, you need anything? I'll go to the corner store. You want an Arizona iced tea or something? I'll pick one up for you. You stay there. I'll put it on a fucking raft and float it over to you. Yeah. And I camp. I most of my camping is in the Adirondacks. I've done 1 or 2 nights in North Carolina, but that's like sleeping at the base of a mountain with family, friends, and most people were like drinking until morning anyway. But like, I won't do the Appalachians. Like, I'll walk on the trail. You know, but I'm not spending the night out there. Absolutely not. Don't know what's out there. Don't need to know. Somebody finds out for me and lets me know. Neat. But you know, cryptids fascinate me, and we have, you know, and I'm sure Axiom will be able to tell you guys too, is like we have plenty or Axiom, not Axiom, excuse me, can tell you we have plenty of cryptids here in New York State. We do have Bigfoot sightings. We do have Champ up at Lake Champlain. We do have the Kinderhook, I think it's called the Kinderhook Blob or something that people saw. That's just a weird one. I don't even think there's enough content out there for me to do an episode on that, but there's plenty of shit around here and out there in the woods. Like that's enough for me. I don't need to go to the Appalachians and dick around, out in West Virginia to see if I can spot the Mothman at night, or try and catch Sasquatch. But it's just like the hubris of man and science to claim that we got it figured out, right? There's nothing out there, nothing to worry about. It's just like, there's nothing up in the space. There's no aliens. Probably fucking is, like, yeah, no. Yep. Yes. Yep. Ape Ridge in Washington. Yeah, no. Fuck that all the way. Like, if I had to be out there, I would have a device with me capable of lead injections, serious lead injections, and I would have radios, and there's absolutely no way, because not only that, but to put yourself in a situation out there where you are completely at the mercy of nature and your own devices. Yeah. Nope. No. And, it's gorgeous country. Like, I'd absolutely love to drive through there, like, take a road trip through there and all that stuff. But, like, I don't want to be sleeping there in a tent, like just chilling out, old famine in a tent. Yeah, and you do also have like your Native American, their traditions, their their own lore, their own belief system, and there are things that I've been recently told by a friend who is Native that you should not say the names of certain things because it invites, it gives them permission to make approaches, and you don't say the things. So I don't, I decided to just not say it. But, like, you know what I'm talking about, the thing that can take on the form of people and use their voices to try and invite themselves in. No, thank you. Chupacabra, that is another one. That is one of those that's fascinating to no end, because, like, whether or not it's a terrestrial or an extraterrestrial thing, like, something coming from a craft and draining the blood of these animals, or, what have you, very, very fascinating and weird, no matter which way you look at it. Yes, we do not say the W word, and I've learned not to say the W word. That was recently conveyed to me. And also the whole close your blinds at night so that you don't allow something to look in and invite itself in. I don't know that I'm that superstitious, but I also don't want my balls to be seen at night, so I close my blinds. Flesh gates. All right, that's a good one. But it's just the hubris that we have is even just like as a society of people that's like, yeah, we've got it all figured out. Like, get out of here. We don't know. We know 10%. We have less than 10%, excuse me, of the ocean explored to know what's there. We have no clue what the French toast is up in outer space. And, we just claim that we know these things. And I think that's really bold of science. It's like, it's almost anti-scientific. There's no application of the scientific method except for deduction of I don't see it, or I don't think this claim is valid, therefore it is not true until it's proven. Sure. But then it's like, it's one of those things where it's like they just decide, yeah, no, that there's no way it could be. And then you get real scientists who are like, actually there's some stuff here, blah, blah, blah. They get discredited and discounted. Reasonable. Hey man, space French toast would be fucking awesome. Or space waffles. Space potatoes, maybe. But yeah. There's not only is there one in Vietnam, but there's also the one in China that they discovered where there was like a hole in the ground, like I think it was less than 10 feet, but because it gets so much sunshine, inside were trees and a whole ecosystem. We only recently found out that there are actual species of what is it, silicone-based life forms that can survive in volcanic lava and vents under the ocean because that's the environment that they live in. For the longest time, we were so convinced that there's no way anything that could live in those areas, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, surprise, motherfucker. Like, here's this thing that everybody said couldn't be possible that's been found. We're still finding entire civilizations that were around before the Egyptians, before the Babylonians, before the Turkish Empire. Like there's all these things that are being found that completely change the view of time, of the timeline of the planet, of civilization, what people were capable of, what they weren't capable of. And the hubris that's there from a lot of scientific organizations and stuff blows my mind. Like, you'd think if you were a scientist, you'd be geeked, even if it continued to be wrong. And then you found some information to be like, oh shit, let's test this. Like, is their spirit really that beaten out of them by institutional schools that they're like, yeah, I'd really love to research, the ocean to see about giant squid. We're pretty sure that's a myth. Well, now they're getting giant squid on camera. I'd really like to research these larger sharks. And they believe that they found, I believe it was a great white that's over 600 years old. Yeah, the Younger Dryas boundary. Like, there's all kinds of shit that happens and recently more and more. So I just don't get why there's still a taboo of, anything that's that's discussed as like anti what we already quote know. We just dismiss it, right? We don't even entertain the idea that maybe people were wrong. And that's what happened. Wasn't that the one that they found in that guy's basement? He like found a door and was like, open the tunnel, and then all of a sudden they found a fucking underground city. Like, that's part of what Gimmick is based on, is the underground, the Turkish underground civilization, the cities where there were tunnels and like whole houses and shit like that in there. And area that right near there. But like, what's crazy is you find Göbekli Tepe. Tepe. I apologize. I'm butchering it. They found this, but you look historically, and there were people in the 1920s, maybe a little earlier than that, who claim to have found exactly what is described in those places, which has been found and seen in the Grand Canyon here in the United States. But we don't, they don't accept that as, no, that's just, tall tale. But those sections of the Grand Canyon are shut off and people aren't allowed to go there. Safety? Maybe. I don't think so. That's me. You know what? I'm a YouTuber. Yeah. You've got pyramids in Ohio. We have, Rhode Island has stones with runes on them from Vikings from way before Columbus came. We have proof that China, traded with the New World way before. You've got all sorts of proof up in Canada, things like that the North Americas were, discovered by the Vikings way before anything was recorded, and the accepted claim that that's what it was. Like, just, this is when Columbus discovered America. Well, everybody was like, wait, hey, what about Amerigo Vespucci? Okay, All right, cool. But people still, for whatever reason, hung on to Columbus. I don't know why. He was a filthy, filthy man, terrible colonizer. I mean, all colonizers are bad, but like just the things he did were reprehensible. And I'm not going to get an episode on that because I will never be able to monetize it because I'll just go off and it'll be bad. But like, there's all kinds of stuff all over this country here in the United States. There's all kinds of stuff all over South America. There's stuff everywhere that they're discovering with new like not radiation, but like radio waves that they're bouncing at the ground, aerial surveillance, X-rays against the ground. They're finding cities under cities under cities that are aged way beyond anything anybody ever thought. But we've got this weird scientific moxie and historical moxie in our, institutions, that like they just dismiss it. Yeah, absolutely. I believe that. Pushed our timeline, like back that far, and then we find, something else, and it pushes it back further. And, it's like, oh, okay, people did this then. Instead, we only thought they were able to do this. We thought they were savages. We thought that they could only do this, And yeah, it's not just, I could do an entire episode on the Smithsonian. But it's not just giant skeletons that they've lost. They have literally lost priceless artifacts, and by the words lost, I believe that they've either hidden them or given them to wealthy people to fund their museum or fund projects, or for whatever reason. I don't believe that these things have been lost. I believe that they are very much in the possession of people who should not have them, and whether or not those skeletons were real, present them so that they can be, prove it, prove that they're fake, prove that they're hoaxes. Don't just hide them and say, oh, we lost them. You're really going to lose a 9-foot skeleton? How do you lose something like that? Excuse me. Like, what are you talking about? You lost a 9-foot skeleton. Oh, we misplaced it. Oh, did you? It's fascinating to me, like the things, and keeping indigenous people's belongings and museums that they were literally stolen from. I do see now that the Museum of Natural History is returning all native artifacts to the appropriate groups and councils, and that is fantastic news. Number one, because it's not theirs to have. These museums should not have it. It's not theirs. And number two, this allows these cultures, these groups, if they want their stuff on display at the museum, they have a say. They get to provide what's there. They get to have their truth about their culture told. It's not speculation from, Caucasian explorers who go, I think that these were used for this. And it's like, you talk to anybody that's native and they're like, yeah, no, this dude's stupid. Like it's X, Y, or Z, but they won't put it at the museum. Like it's great. Right. And so the more museums are held accountable for things like that, I think is better for everyone in the long run, not just, indigenous people, but like as a nation, like we should be doing better. We should be treating the people that were here first with respect. We are all on stolen land or sold land that belong to other tribes. And we should be respectful of that fact. You know what I mean? Like, obviously the United States government's never going to fucking give it back. They're not going to pay it. And it's not, that type of thing is never going to happen. Right. So the least we could do is honor that culture, honor the things that they know, and, treat it with the respect that it deserves. And so fortunately with them returning these things that belongs to them as a start, I think that's fantastic. I think it's a great way to start making amends and also to get a more true picture of history of not only the United States, but usually it's as the United States go, the world goes. So other countries and cultures will hopefully move forward with that return things that are pilfered and get the actual knowledge voluntarily given by people, and we listen and we learn, and maybe we find out what the people who got into giant sky canoes to escape floods or to share knowledge and food with people, these things, these stories, these tales that have been going on for generations, longer than any of us have been here or will be here. Like maybe we find out what the truth is about that, and we get a better picture of what this planet was like beyond the fossil record, beyond the the assumed known, right? Because if I map out my community, and then somebody who's been here for way longer than me goes, hey, there's actually a cemetery over there, and I go, no, there's not. I already mapped it out. That's bold of me. But if I now recognize that these people have been here longer and it's their area to know, and they say, hey, there's a cemetery over there. Okay, how do I find this out so I can mark this on the map? Can you show me? Can you help me document this? There's a million ways to go about it. And I think we need to be better about that. And like I said, hopefully the rest of the world starts to embrace that for their indigenous people and the people that they've, moved off of land or tried to wipe out, and actually make some sort of amends and do the right thing and provide them with a voice. See, Bjorn, you said it. You said the thing. And now you're getting the heebie-jeebies, the jeebies of Hebe. Just saying. I'll put on my fancy adventurer's cap. Now I'm safe. It's lined with foil. But yeah, I want you guys to sound off. What do you guys think? Do you think that Mothman is and I say real because obviously some people saw something, right? Do you think that it exists a cryptid, or do you think it's a known animal that maybe just people mistook? What's your thought, your opinion on what this could be or is? Justin's asking about the continental drift. Continents did used to be closer. There used to be a land bridge that people could walk over. People also, they can, historians can claim that there were only, people were only able to travel so far. Isolationism is the only way, but there's plenty of history that shows that boats from other cultures can make it to any of the places beyond what we thought they could, just because we think we know how far a boat could go or how they could navigate. Like, they don't understand how navigable the seas were then. They don't understand what knowledge these people had because, number one, they don't want to, and number two, because they aren't willing to do the work to actually believe and figure it out. Bjorn says he thinks that it is real, at least partially. Anthony says, I think it was something that hasn't been explained yet, but I can't say it's a cryptid or extra or ultra terrestrial yet. That is fair. That is, and I think I'm right around there too. Like, I love the spooky conspiracy theory, not conspiracy theory, but the spooky person with an imagination in me is like, wow, that'd be so fucking cool if there was this thing that showed up and just appeared and left when it wanted to. But also, no. That scares the shit out of me. And also, if anything, I know how the world's leaders are, how certain companies are, how things are. They would try and utilize it for horrible things or try and hurt it or capture it, and it would just make it bad for all of us. Yep. Absolutely. And that was 1,000 years before they were rediscovered. Again, proven, scientifically and historically proven that this thing was older, way older than what was presumed to be factual and when things happened. And it still doesn't get a lot of press. It doesn't get a lot of acknowledgement. about these things. Like, shit just blows my mind, man. And it's like, all right, let's play advocate for a minute. Let's pretend Mothman is absolutely 1000% real. It's a singular being. Maybe there's a couple of them. What do you think's going to happen if anybody ever gets their hands on it? You know, let's pretend it's an alien. Well, all right, maybe we've wiped out their race now because we get a hold of it and kill it and try and take it apart to see how it ticks, or try and make it do what we want and it won't. You know, because that's the nature of man. That's what we do. What have we gained? Right? Or if it is like some type of, you know, interdimensional being, maybe we don't want to know where the fucking thing comes from. Yeah. Trade winds. Yeah. Multi-dimensional being who comes here, warns specific areas of penetrating. It's not the reason bad shit happens. Yeah. That's possible too. And yeah, you know, some type of being that's aware of stuff before it happens. Maybe it doesn't even know why it appears in that area, right? How's that for a mind fuck? Like, it's one of those things where you ever hear the story of cats and dogs before earthquakes? They behave strangely. You know, they don't comprehend. They can feel micro vibrations and waves that we can't find. I was in the Saratoga earthquake back in '89. I was 4 years old. I remember it because it was terrifying. Like, the sidewalks were all smashed up in front of the house and everything, but like, our dog went nuts. My mother had a basset hound in the apartment. We weren't supposed to have it. So of course this thing starts barking and my mom's like, shut up. This fucking basset hound went crazy. We couldn't figure out why. And then the earthquake hit. You know, the window on the apartment broke. You know, the sidewalk up front was all busted up. We had tree branches down and all that stuff in the area. Like, it was national news. And I remember it, and just like now, as I'm a grown up and I hear those stories about like dogs and cats and other animals being able to sense these things ahead of time. They didn't know what it was. The dog wasn't like, oh, earthquake, guys, get in the doorway or something. They didn't know. So imagine that with like a creature, and a multi-dimensional creature that just shows up in places and kind of dicks around until it leaves because it doesn't know why it's there, right? Red says, not sure about Mothman, but you're sure you heard of Chupacabra in Waukesha, Wisconsin at night in a tree. 6 to 8 years on 2 different nights. That's a fucking hard no for me. Because whether it's a truly like a goat sucker or whatever, or if it's, you know, the whole UFO argument that, you know, it's something that appears and drains the blood for whatever reason, like scorches the cattle and shit like that, or goats, like, that's a hard no for me on either. What's out there, mama? What do you see? Cat's staring at the window now. What do you see, Mama Snow? Love you. Snowflake's big. She'll keep me safe. Mama Snow, on the other hand, she's a small lady. She's tough. You know what they say? You know, you got to paint a million portraits until they call you a painter, and you know, you got to put at least a dozen roofs on places until they call you a builder. But you suck one goat. Elijah, have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to stop by, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Thank you for enjoying yourself. It's like a cross between a cat and a dog. That's not pleasant. I don't like any Star people. I didn't freak out when I saw Star Wars or Star Trek. I was like, oh, these are so cool. It's in our DNA for sure. it for me, it's just I would love, again, I would love to think that, you know, Mothman is real. Like, I'd love to believe that it's a thing, and I certainly think that they saw something out there, you know, when they were doing their thing, that they were so scared that, you know, they were willing to go to the police and be like, hey, we were smoking the devil's lettuce out here by the fucking TNT zone, and there's some shit out there, like, let's do something about it. But at the same time, did everybody see that? Right? Did everybody fucking, everybody that was claiming that they saw it, did they see the same thing? You know, where are the scratches on the roofs of cars with photographs and tape measures next to them, like people do when they find Bigfoot tracks? Where are the, you know, the interruptions? Wildcat, not like snowflakes. No, Snowflake's a wildcat. She's a big girl. She's a strong girl. She's got them big paws. She got me good. The other night we were playing. Oh, I've got the red light on, so of course you can't see, but I've got a bunch of scratches because we were playing, and she just, man, it like made a noise. That's how hard she bat me. She got me with her claws a couple of times, and then she realized she was playing a little too rough, so she stops. It was nice. She was a good girl, but she's a tough kitty. I was sitting, have a drink with Bosk. Sit down and have a drink with me. We'll talk about bounties and how I hate that Boba Fett. I don't know why all of a sudden he sounds like fucking Cobra Commander, but similar stories. Yeah, absolutely. There's like Bigfoot, perhaps, and we'll have to do a Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, Great Ape episode. I did say great ape, not grape ape. But like, there's so many different cultures that have large primate stories, and we literally have large primates on this planet. Like, clearly something's going on there. Like, that's like the one that I'm certain of. Like, of course there's fucking Bigfoot, whether or not it's, you know, the mythical being that some people think it is, or if it's just an animal, like most things, and which is what I believe, it's just an animal. I still don't want to fuck with it. Yes, thank you. That's what I was going for. Bosk from the Clone Wars. And that's you know, one of the reasons that it fascinates me that the Mothman was supposedly seen in Russia near 2 Russian incidents, and we're seeing it in Chicago. It was in upstate New York, in where was it? Westchester, can't remember. Right before, what was it, a factory fire or something? So it's like different areas, this thing's appearing in other countries. Like, what's going on? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just how, and that's the other thing too, is a tribe would have to claim them. But like, how do you misplace? Now, you can't even fucking find. You can't even find the 12-foot Home Depot skeleton in stores. You know how big that motherfucker is when people take it down and put it away? How can you lose an 8-foot tall real skeleton? Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier, is like, you know, perhaps this thing, Axion and I were saying, just appears. Maybe it doesn't know why it appears, but it appears as a warning, and things happen. And I was saying, like, could you imagine if it was just like an instinct, an instinctual thing? It just goes to these places, but like, what the hell's going on in Chicago? I mean, obviously we know what's going on in Chicago, as far as like the city wise, and you know how bad things are, but like, what's the disaster that this thing is appearing before? It can't just be now he shows up at slow tumbles, slow declines. Like, I don't know. I just work here. that's one of the other things that fascinates me too about the Mothman myth or idea or whatever you want to call it. A little parched. Not sponsored by Ruby Seltzer from the grocery store, but gonna have a sip. Is there doesn't seem to be any religious connotation, right? It's not showing up in Notre Dame before the cathedral burns down, or in Israel before horrible things happen there at the Temple on the Mount. Like, it's just showing up at places, right? So in this way, it's not like the Bigfoot legend or skunk ape or even Loch Ness. You know, there's no theological tie to it. It's not something that ancient cultures discussed, and that's another part of it that fascinates me, is that it's just like, it just is, right? Like, that's so freaking fascinating to me. It just exists and does its thing, supposedly, and people are just like, maybe not. Maybe this thing doesn't exist. Yeah. Maybe that cow saw something. Nearer to fight a outside threat to Earth. I don't. Is that Reagan or Rogan? I don't like either of them, but I just need to know who said that. Because it sounds like something either of them would fucking say, to be completely truthful. But and for those keeping score of what I'm working on, again, I'm just coating this whole thing in Mod Podge to get it prepped to get some paint and some greeblies and shit glued on here. This was the foam all out of trash that we were building. I used straws from that I've been saving from like boba and Dunkin' Donuts and cocktail straws. I used EVA foam to make some of these brackets on the pipes here. Just scraps that I had offcuts on, cardboard from boxes to make ringlets around pipes, wooden stick from my scrap pile from another project, toothpicks, offcut rings that were just, I popped them on there like beads to kind of make brackets. And I did a little bit of sculpting with heat and also a shop knife and just made this look like smooth, worn down ground, because people are going to be walking under whatever I put up here. It's going to be like some type of watchtower or observation deck. So that's what I've got going right now. Well, Bjorn, you just got to look to the sky, man. Keep your eyes peeled, and you know, if you see a moth critter or a Sasquatch, or you see a UFO, you know, observe it. Get as much information as you can. That's like, I am horrified of gray aliens. Those things freak me out. I don't know if it's the uncanny valley. I don't know what it is, but I do not like them. Don't like seeing them in X-Files. Do not like seeing them pop up on my TV screen. Don't like it. Signs, nightmare. Like, I don't like it, but I have started to quell my fears of them with a fascination about learning of it and observing it. I'm 1000% sure if I were to look up and look out my window right now and see one, I'd shit myself and probably die. But like, I try to learn about them so I at least have a better understanding of why perhaps they appear or why they visit our planet, if they're true and that's what they are, and things like that. Like, I put a little bit of effort into toughening myself for that fear, even though it's still there and very much unsettling when I see them. And I'm just like, nah. And bless my lovely girlfriend who doesn't watch these cryptid streams because, I don't know, she doesn't want to watch them. She will let me know on X-Files when there's going to be a gray alien and stuff. Like, she gives me the heads up. So like, very much, that's true love there, because she really could have been like, let's watch them freak out. But instead she's like, hey, you might want to turn away. Um, and we don't need to talk about the men in the corners. we don't need to talk about the men in the corners. We can. But you know, how do you guys feel? You know, now that we've gone over this and talked about like some of the sightings and how people only started to bring up these stories after the fact, after it became popular, do you feel like they're valid? Do you feel like they're kind of people trying to capitalize on the successful story of things, like the Men in Black? Like, you know, there's truly now like proof, and people actually have video footage of men, you know, showing up at places to confront people and tell them not to say things. Like it's a known thing. Do you feel like this is anything to do with that, or do you think that the Injured Cold thing was entirely on its own and separate? Or do you think it was tied with Mothman, and that, you know, perhaps an agency knew, or another group of aliens knew, right? Well, this is the spooky chat, Bjorn. Spooky. Yeah, the little bastards are everywhere, and of course, my stupid self, I'll watch stuff on YouTube or read books and whatnot, and they're on the covers, and I'm just like, of course, I see them. So it's, and I'm into sci-fi world building. I have a little gray alien from the X-Files who pilots a traditional UFO ship that I have. Like, you know, I have one in here. Yeah, the first one, they were more aware of their surroundings and they may have seen him. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that, but like the fact that they waited until, you know, this book was out and popular before they came through and were like, oh yeah, I saw this thing. I too experienced this thing. Like, is it in you to believe those accounts as well as the original accounts? Like, do you take those with the same amount of faith that they actually happened and are true? Or do you treat that with like a grain of salt? Like, okay, sure, this could have been, you know, something that they saw, but also it's oddly strange that it's only coming out now. Because that's where I struggle with believing those. You know, I struggle believing the idea that those are maybe more valid than they could be. I don't necessarily think that they're all true or all even sincere, you know, because especially older folk tend to want to be a part of things in small towns where stuff is boring. And, you know, sometimes they'll just cook up a cockamamie story, be like, I'm funny. It's like, no, Mima, you're not. Bjorn, don't worry. Where you live is only a hotspot for Bigfoot, aliens, chupacabra. Nothing to worry about. That's only 3, Bjorn. You can handle it. Yeah, it could be attention seeking. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like for most, it is a little hypocritical of me, and I'm aware of my own nature being contrarian, but it's like I am very much if a person says something, trust and then verify. Not trust but verify, trust and verify. So on the one hand, I believe those people, but in a lot of instances where these things happen, eventually people come forward and say, yeah, actually I was kind of, you know, pulling a leg. I thought it would be a cute joke. Had you all fooled, haha. So it's tough to believe, but it's like, I guess that's me doing the same thing that maybe scientists or historians do, where they just go, no, nope, not. So I think I might be able to get some more stuff on here tonight too. before I start putting a coat of paint on, but this is a good way to protect this, is to get this on here. And that way, when I want to start painting, I can just jump right in. I don't know how much stuff I'm going to be doing this weekend. I know I need to rest. Like I said, very close friend of mine passed away. Very suddenly. We just found out yesterday, or I guess, yesterday. Hey, I'm glad that you joined the chat, and I'll definitely have to tag up with you and swap some stories about Western New York, what we've seen out that way. But I'm glad you joined. I'm glad to see that you were here. Thank you for the subscription. Share it with some friends if you want. They can come and leave comments on the video if they have anything. Be well, to sweet me, be good. Well, hopefully see you here again soon. I'm hoping, Justin. I'm hoping that it's really cool. I'm really looking forward to build whatever I build on the top of it. But this is like truly just like trying to get the base created so I kind of know what it is. Excuse me. But like I said, I do know I need to like rest my weary soul. Rest my weary soul and give my brain a bit of a break. Howdy, what's happening, my friend? Welcome to the show. We are talking tragedy and cryptids. We went from some really spooky shit to some really sad shit quickly, and that's my fault. But just filling these guys in on some goings on. But I lost a very dear friend, and so I probably will take a little bit of time, a day or so, away from scrolling the net. But I was gonna postpone today's stream, right? And somebody tell me if I told this story. I can't remember, honestly. I'm tired. But I was gonna postpone today's stream just based on the fact that a friend of mine passed away. I was up until 6:30 this morning, or right thereabouts, just really struggling with it. And I was looking for a specific photo today that I know my friend took. So I hopped in our messages, and I was going through our messages, and I jumped back. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I was going through our messages, and I came across one from like 2019. It was right around the pandemic start, and my friend messaged me, and he was like, dude, this is so cool what you're doing on YouTube. It's completely outside of my wheelhouse, but you make it seem like so accessible. And it was one of my tutorial videos on weathering a Nerf blaster that I had painted. And so he went and got his kids' Nerf guns, and he went and got himself his son's Nerf gun, and he got himself one, I believe. And like they got together and they hung out and watched my stuff and weathered up some Nerf guns. And he was like, this is really cool, and I'm glad that you enjoy doing it. I hope you keep doing it. And I was like, damn, like it hit. Thank you, Justin. It hit hit that nerve, and I was like, well, he'd want me to do the thing, and that's showbiz, baby. Sometimes we don't stop until we can actually stop. And I promised you guys this show, and I'm glad that I did it. So I'm having a blast talking about this spooky shit. Tar, what's happening? But so I'm doing this episode for my friend Jamie, and like I said earlier, his book is available on Amazon. Jamie Sheffield is the author. His first book is Here Be Monsters. There's a character in there that Jamie let me know was made after me, and I think that's super cool. And if you can tell me who it is, I will be fucking shocked and impressed at your deduction skills. But yeah, so I'm glad that I did this episode, and hopefully we can make this. It may not be a weekly every Friday thing, but I think we can manage to add one of these cryptid episodes every couple to few weeks. Or if there's any like major cryptid news, we can do a super special episode and chat it out about the spooky stuff, the weird stuff, and the fun stuff. And I'm sure as there's more UFO releases on information and stuff, that's going to eventually trickle down into cryptid information releases, hopefully, and reports being disclosed of things that were seen and found. That'll be really cool and fun. Bjorn, honestly, if it's too spooky or creepy for you, man, you don't have to hang here. I don't want you to feel obligated. I've got another admin in the chat, and you can grab yourself a nice hot tea, chill out, put on some of your favorite tunes, maybe play with your toys, and just relax, man. We're talking weird shit. This all could be fake. I don't know that it's it's any more real than other things. Hey, Tuna, how's it going? Yeah, cryptids is a very, very deep rabbit hole. And like I said, there are so many ways we can go. And I saw that comment, Audi. If I do that, maybe I'll hit you up and have you on the episode. We can talk about it. Look, you scared Bjorn. You scared him. He inked all over himself. I will say that I don't presume to know, what folks go through when they see these things, these spooky creatures, these cryptids, these monsters, these things that maybe aren't of this planet or aren't of this time, maybe are hoaxes. I'm certain more of the Bigfoot sightings are hoaxes than the real ones, which I do very well think there are real Bigfoot sightings. Could be the same with the Mothman sightings, but I just don't know what people think or feel. And it's like, it's kind of that thing where when people are the scientific research that when somebody's attacked with a gun, somebody has a gun or a knife or whatever, people pay attention to that instead of all the other things. So, how reliable is that extra witness, these extra witnesses? And, that's trying to look at it with a scientific mind of like, okay, well, if we don't know how, why they're reacting this way, what information they have, where does it come from? What idea is applied to this? Shit like that. I try and think that way for these things because, like, well, it's cool and I love to believe it all and be like, yeah, this is neat. This is real. I do want to look at it with an analytical and more scientific based mind and be like, okay, what could cause this? What could it be? What can we rule out? And that's, I like watching shows like BuzzFeed Unsolved and the Y-Files and Watcher, the Ghost Files and things like that, because they try and take their time to both prove and disprove it. They want facts, even if it's not completely scientific method and things like that. Like, they're actively trying to gain knowledge. And that's kind of the way I look at it. That's cool. Rainbow Flag Mothman pen. If you have a link to that, send it to me over on Instagram. I would absolutely love to pick that up for myself and several friends that are on the Alphabet Mafia that would probably love that. I want to get the Mothman ate my ass at Point Pleasant. He was a tender lover bumper sticker. Justin. Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing too. It's like you ever have and Bjorn, I'm sure when you're oh, you picked it up somewhere. Oh, that's cool. If you know the maker, maybe I could look them up. It's like I think of that when my cats just stare at a wall. They're just, it's like, what do you see? And I'll get over there and look at the wall, look for a bug, look for like a spider web or something. Nothing. And they're just like glued. And it's like, all right, what are you seeing? And they see a different visual spectrum than we do. It's weird. It's different, Yeah, I'm talking about you, Mama Snow. Love you. Love you too, Snowflake. Did I wake you up? I'm sorry. I'll shut up. It's like, Dad, be quiet. I was dreaming I was chasing a mouse. Yeah. So maybe they see the people on the walls. I'm kidding. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. You have people on your walls? That's not even a cryptid thing. That show on, what is it, on Lifetime or something, where they like find people that were like doing weird shit like that, like living under people's porches and things like that. Holy crap, that scares me. Like the idea that somebody could just be living in your wet wall in your house in between the like, whew, no, sir. No, thank you. No, please, and thank you. Also, you know for a fact that the spirit has been following your family for years. Tell me more about that, because that I very much think ghosts are probably real. I don't necessarily know that it's in my experience, I don't necessarily know that they're all, you know, spirits from another realm or whatever. I think it could be energy. I know that energy exists. Energy is proven. You know, the law of thermodynamics, you know, energy can't be destroyed. It has to go somewhere. So it's like, yeah, they're absolutely, where's the energy go when you die? That's kind of how I treat it. So it fascinates me. When I lived in this house down the road, one of my childhood homes, I lived in the attic. That was my room, no door on it or anything. I had no privacy. But I did a lot of sleeping downstairs on the couch, watching TV or something like that. And, you know, I didn't spend a lot of time sleeping in the room upstairs. But when I moved out, my sister had moved in and she was still a child, like 6 years old. And she was telling us that she spoke with somebody who was upstairs in the crawl space. And I'm like, there's nobody in the crawl space. Like, I went up there and looked, ready to like fight somebody in the crawl space. She's like, no, it was a little boy. Just looked like a little boy. He wasn't in like some creepy Victorian dress or something. He just looked very plain. And she said she was talking to this kid. So I pulled up the history of the house, and lo and behold, a little boy about 7 years old died in the home of illness during the 1490s. So it had to be in the Spanish flu. Like, you know, this kid died in the house, and I don't know that he died in the attic, but it was like super fucking spooky that my sister was like, oh yeah, I was playing with this kid in the end. She wasn't one to make up stories or anything at that point. She just was talking about somebody she was playing with in the attic and happened to bring it up in conversation. It was like wild that somebody had kicked the bucket in there that kind of fit the description. But again, it wasn't like some Victorian era spooky ghost. She said he was just very plain, wearing plain clothes. And he was a little boy and he wanted to play, and she would talk to him in the crawl space and stuff. And like, glad he didn't talk to me when I was living there. Girlfriend at the time had unexplained scratches on her back. Are we, you say, I ask this with respect, you say girlfriend at the time. I'm presuming that they're broken up. Do we know she wasn't stepping out? Because I know sometimes you can get scratches on backs from certain playtime activities, like, you know, like professional wrestling when moms. Is that what we were talking about? The same thing? That was me. Yeah, I won't. Bjorn, I see your comment there about he was a dummy and would taunt the ghosts or the spirit that you guys thought was there. I too am like, whether or not this spooky thing is real, if it is real, I'm not going to be an asshole and sit here and taunt it and antagonize whatever situation it is, whether or not this thing is, you know, tied to earth because it's a ghost and can't can't leave this plane, or it's their energy and it doesn't dissipate and hangs on to the place for whatever reason, like there's still no reason for me to fucking antagonize it. Like that's just stupid and mean. I wouldn't do that. Although you would probably hear at least one time I'd be like, get a job, you goddamn ghost. I've got things to do. Stop fucking with me. Because I get really annoyed by things like that. If it's like, especially if it's a non-malicious, thing. It's just like moving things around or closing things or shutting lights on and off. I'd just get annoyed and be like, God damn it, stop it. And for those wondering why Old Famine here isn't using the Black Craft Mod Podge to do this, it's because I am using straight uncut Mod Podge. That's just pure matte Mod Podge. It's going on thicker. I'm laying it on thicker and doing multiple coats because this is foam. It's going to give it a nice, crisp, stronger shell that's going to resist scratching and chipping. And once that happens, once that's out of the way, what I can do is paint it, and then I'll seal it again with Mod Podge, and it'll really lock that flavor in. All right, come on, camera. Focus up. There we go. So I've got like stone texture that I carved in there to replace that ugly stone on the front. Coated all the plastic, coated all the surfaces with Mod Podge. I'm going to let that sit for a minute because Mod Podge does dry pretty quick. However, it allegedly takes 4 weeks to cure. All the way, 4 weeks to cure Mod Podge. Put that Mod Podge away, or at least to the side for now because I'll probably go back. What I'm going to do is look at cutting a piece of railing to continue this little fix that I was doing, because the railing that was on there was like all bent, but it was come on, brain work. It was just the perfect amount to make the bend, so it didn't look realistic. It didn't look like there was like extra material that had been warped or anything. So I cut that level of it off, and I've just been using these free stir sticks that I got from the gas station to make railing. So I've got one over here. I completed and added an extra post, and I've added the extra posts over here so I can complete this section of banister. Bjorn says, whenever the spirit says leave now, I'm gone, not taking anything with me other than what I have on me. That is a solid... That's actually just good for a life lesson, right? Like, anytime you're in a situation and somebody says, hey, beat feet, just fucking beat feet, man. No reason to hang out and, make things worse. The spooky ghost wants you gone, get gone, right? And here I'm just using my really banged up side cutters to cut the banister, the railing, and it's kind of fast and dirty because it is going to be covered with things. There's going to be cardboard on here and then more stuff built up. So I'm just using this as like a solid base to absorb the super glue. Lord of Thane, hello, my friend. Currently I am... Yes. I actually have a jar with black that I use just because black coats everything and you can see where the Mod Podge went, but you can mix in other colors too. You do brown, gray, whatever, just stir it up. Well, Bjorn, thank you for stopping by. Like I said, get yourself some tea, relax. It's nothing super serious or spooky. We're just talking about spooky shit. But if you do dip out, my friend, I appreciate you being here for the stream. And I wish you good luck with your haunted visitor that sometimes visits you, I guess. It's going to be some sort of observation thing. I've accepted that much. Whether that's like a place that people can sit, or if it's an imperial, like, hey, we watch, or if it's a place where somebody watches aircraft come in and out or whatever, like it's going to be something where people can see from the top and on the inside here. I need to get this off the screen. And people on the, walking on the path, because this will be against the wall. So imagine that this is the wall here. The footpath will be here. all through here, and this is just a way for them to get through instead of having to walk around or whatever, however I build it. And I made it wide enough so like a dinosaur could go through, or a couple of speeder bikes, people could walk either direction. So that much is very clear. I have a piece that's going to go in here to block that off and make that look nice and neat and sci-fi. So, yeah. Thank you. Let's see. All right, so cut that there, so that'll match that. Nope. I cut that angle wrong. Thank you, sir. And this is, again, everything on here is a free or scrap from old projects and old jobs. All the foam was from my previous career. I used to have access to sheets of foam that were being thrown out from packing aluminum sheet metal. And yeah. So that and like the straws that are the pipes on here were all like from Dunkin' Donuts or boba tea. I guess it's kind of like redundant, like saying chai tea, kind of redundant, but you know, just recycling products and reusing them so that they don't get thrown into a landfill until I'm dead. Or I decide to sell these to somebody and then they throw them away. You know? Watch Boy Meets World, never fails to put you in a good mood. Nice, man. Enjoy. Have a great night. And thanks again for coming in. All right, which one of you guys is Bjorn's ghost? I tease. Lord of Thane shows up, Bjorn dips out. He's tired. Yeah, dinosaurs are awesome, and Dino Riders also awesome. I actually was not into Dino Riders when I was a kid. I get the appeal. Trust me, it's me. I get the appeal. There's no nostalgia there for me, so I like to do my own thing with the dinosaurs. Now that sounds weird. My own concepts with the dinosaurs outside of the Dino Rider world, I guess is what you'd call it. But I get it. No, absolutely, I get it. Oh, you got dinosaurs today. Hell yeah. We love it when people get dinosaurs. That's for goddamn sure here at Gimmick Starport. We love our dinosaurs. All right, let's see how I can do this because I fluffed that up. Oh, Susanna. Don't you cry for me. If you sing that stupid song again, I'll drown you in the sea. What kind of dinosaur did you get today? Come on. Yeah. How? Are you guys like me? Are you stupid and you keep the pen that doesn't work? I'll take it apart and put it in the bin, but like you put it back in the drawer. I can't tell you how many times in my lifetime I've been like, stupid pen doesn't work, and then put it back in the drawer. And then I'm like, ah, crap, which pen was it? Bag from Value Village, and one the half dozen was Jurassic World, Dracorex, or Stigmalock. Nice. Yeah, there was a lot of Stigmalocks released in that line. Dino Riders as concept, love playing with your friends. Way too expensive. Yeah, and even now they are. I guess I caught part of the story. My buddy Crom, he told me about it. Somebody found a warehouse full of actual vintage Dino Rider toys and was listing them and like selling them like it was an actual like legitimate warehouse full of these old Dino Rider toys, and so they were a little bit accessible for people here for a while, but not for me. Cowboys on dinos, they're badass. Thank you. I like space westerns. We've been over this a million times, and I like the concept of like Wild West with dinosaurs or medieval with dinosaurs in space. I love that idea of dinosaurs in space. You know how freaking geeked I'll be if we, in my lifetime, we develop like intergalactic travel, and if we wind up in some other universe, and when we get there, we're looking at their megafauna, and lo and behold, they've got shit that looks like our dinosaurs. I'll probably cry. But it's dinosaurs, man. They're freaking cool. Like, why wouldn't I love that? Why wouldn't I want cowboys and dinosaurs in my world? Everybody's welcome to that too. Like, absolutely put some goddamn dinosaurs in your world. I hope everybody has dinosaurs in their world. Sorry, dogs. Every time. Holy effing F. Oh, so finding the warehouse full of them, yeah. And for those who are digging the spooky content and this long form build nights, if this is your thing, you want to support the channel and help out, please feel free to jump on Patreon. There's 3 levels there. Each level gets its own unique thing. Obviously, the higher levels you go, you get more benefit from that. That includes previous levels. It's not super expensive. I know it's real on these streets, and I just want to make that available to you guys as an option to help support the channel. Liking the video and sharing it with people also always helps the channel. That goes for all creators. We should be helping each other and liking and subscribing. I know people repeat it and it's trite and it's you hear it over and over again. It's kind of like second nature, but it truly is. When I looked at my analytics, and when I do say something like that in my video, like rate goes up. If I don't say it, the like rate stays lower. So it's a gentle little reminder to, hey, do this little favor and tappy the button and make life a little easier. Suru. I don't know. Is that the thing where you spin on and then... No, that's something else. Enlighten me. All right, see. We're going to switch to pencil so that old Famine can see what the hell he's doing here. There we go. Instead of trying to use that pen that doesn't seem to want to write on wood. There we go. Almost. It's going to have to be it. Dino Race and Star Wars Legends. True Survivor. Okay. Okay, now we're on the same page. Words are words. And also, if you're into it, you see I have the World Makers Consortium t-shirt. That's also available over on the World Makers Consortium Teespring page. I have shirts over on my Teespring page. I'll put that banner up on the screen right. Well, maybe I won't. It's in the description, though. You can click on it in the description. Get your Famine Studio shirts. There are quite some popular shirts that have been selling a lot this week and last week, so that's super freaking cool because that does help. I don't make a huge chunk off of them, but I do get something from each one of them that's sold, each mug that's sold, stickers and all that like, so obviously feel free to support the channel that way too, and you get something to wear. How am I messing this up so much here? I mean, I have been awake for, a stupid amount of time. but that's not working out for me right now. So, weird tongues out of their nostrils. I knew somebody that could do pretty much that, but the opposite, where they put their tongue out and into their nostrils. It's truly something to see. Great party trick. I'm not even being funny. This is actually something somebody could do that I knew. They could literally stick their tongue up one side and then up the other side. And damn, that son of a bitch is on there. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. You'll see me do, if you ever get to watch me work without a ruler, I do dumb shit like this consistently, where I sit here and fuss until I get it wrong 20 times, and then I get annoyed, and then I finally get it right. There we go. Fingers crossed, guys. Heads up. I vacuum 4 or 5 times a week in here just because of all the pets. And I vacuum up pieces of wood chips, foam, plastic. I always look before I vacuum to make sure I'm not vacuuming up, pieces of figures and whatnot. Or figures weapon. Okay. There we go. So I do ask, since we're talking about Mothman and the related sightings, has anybody in the chat ever seen a UFO or UAP, whatever you want to refer to it as? Doesn't mean that you need to think it's a green, men from Mars or Mercury, but something that was a unidentified aerial phenomenon or unidentified flying thing that you were not familiar with. Yeah. Yep. And that's the thing too, is like I'll clean them up, I'll throw them out, and then later I'll be like, oh shit, that would have been good for this thing, or oh damn, where did I put that? Oh yeah, I threw it away. But like the really tiny ones are just a pain in the ass to keep, and I don't need them, so I don't feel bad when I've gotten rid of them. What is it, Mama Snow? She's investigating. Oh, she's giving Snowflake a bath. Saw something couldn't identify over your city like last week, first time. Hey, it happens, because again, it's like not only is there stuff in the sky, and now that our governments are starting to disclose that there's shit in the air that they don't know about or are pretending they don't know about, I wouldn't be surprised if you see it more. And also, it's the day and age where everybody has access to a drone. I have a drone. I've flown the thing like half a second just to make sure that it works. But it's always just windy enough to make me uncomfortable taking it out. So that's. Did you get a spooky vibe from it, or were you just like, hey, what the hell is that? Where's this thing? What is that? Like, what made it a perfect sphere of reflective metal? Weather balloon? Sadly not. When I worked on the base, I used to joke with the base commander, not one damn UFO or chupacabra. What if the real chupacabra was the friend you made along the way? I'm going to get a lot of slack for that one. That was great. I don't care what you guys say. I know you support the channel, but Just cut off decorations or interior structures right away on every build. That's a good idea. I will keep, if things get too small, like I've got a bunch of these little clip-offs like this. Like, I could try and pin that down somewhere, but I'd want to sand up the edges to make it neat, and it just becomes weather balloon. Like, no, I'm not even being funny either. Like, there are foil weather balloons that are round and, you know, do that. So I wouldn't discount that, but I also, it could be something that's, you know, non-terrestrial or atmospheric. Live in a big city, so it's hard to see. True, but then when you see one, you'll know, because you're like, God damn, I live in this big city and I've never seen this thing before. Like, what the hell is it? So I've got a railing on this thing now. Well, the start of a railing. I think I'm going to put some cardboard strips on there. Or I could do, I've got this piece of foam, EVA foam, that was rolled over by a chair, so it's got like digs and stuff. Maybe I'll do the foam first. That seems like a good idea. Good idea, guys. Thanks. How do I want to do this? I know how I'll do this. Give me another stir stick. Jarvis, provide me with a stir stick. I need a shop assistant. You don't need a shop assistant. I probably would hate it. I like teaching people when I had my workshop downstairs. I loved having company over in there. But I feel like unless you are somebody who understands my work method, understands the way that I do things, which is backwards and wrong a lot of the times, it's just how I wind up doing it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just using the straight edge to match up the width of the stir stick that I use to make those railings, so that I have a piece of foam that's about the same distance in width for this. And keeping my blade straight as I can. And I'm not pressing hard because I don't want to warp this too much. And there I go. So that's one. Let's see if I can probably have to make a second one of those. But I can do two things here. Is I can go this and I can bend it because it's foam. Yeah, that'll neaten up that edge. Hell yeah. Good idea, guys. You guys are all right. I don't care what anybody says. All right. So there's that. A little bit of blue there. When I used to work on aircraft emergency exit windows and doors, they have a foam gasket that they use contact cement on to put this gasket on. And I got very good at some of the foam was cut too short. So you had to kind of stretch it, manipulate the foam in order to get it to stick and seat. So you had a good seal on the door. And when the new people that would work on the windows didn't know how to do it, or they were struggling, they'd come get me, and I just had a way to like finesse and manipulate that foam to make it fit. And, you know, everybody was always like, wow, how the hell do you do that? And I'm like, you just follow the curve, and when you glue it down, because you're using contact cement, you put it down on one side on the other, like weldwood or DAP weldwood, or barge cement, contact cement. And you put it on both sides and you let it cure for about 5 minutes till it starts to craze up on it. You know, starts to get a little foggy or haze up wherever you're from. Some people say it differently. And then you would put it down and it immediately makes a permanent bond. And then you just go. When it starts to get shorter, you just kind of press it down a little bit and stretch it because it was foam. And just people couldn't get comfortable with the idea of stretching the foam. It didn't hurt the integrity of the emergency window, because when they install those and bolt them in place or put the fastening handle, it just really makes that seal and bulges that foam out to fill the air gaps. So it wasn't anything to worry about. Nice. Look at that. Nice little thing there, and I'll probably run a strip of foam around the front too, just to neaten that up. Or maybe I'll do cardboard around the front. Who's to say? Let's see here. This will be, yeah, I can actually make this one. Cool. We're gonna do the same thing. I'll do it this way so you guys can see as I put the adhesive here. There we go. And for anybody that's new, I do have a Ko-Fi page if you don't want to join Patreon, but you just want to make a contribution to the channel. And my Ko-Fi policy is if you guys donate a coffee or Ko-Fi or however you want to say it to me, I always make sure I treat the pets and give them extra treats as a thank you. So just be aware of that. If you like seeing, making sure that critters get delicious treats, that's what's up. And they like it and appreciate it. Hi, Mama Chanel. Oh, they're sleeping. They're so cute. Sleeping. Oh, how cute. Love those cats. All right, so that's on there. There we go. Actually use this to push that down. There we are. And I will put that Ko-Fi streaming across the bottom of the page. So is anybody else crafting tonight? Anybody else working on any customs on this episode of Cryptids and Crafts? And if you are, please let us know what you're working on. And by us, I mean everybody in the chat. Better foams, foam or super glue. Super glue gets soaked up into the foam. You are going to get the most permanent bond. If you are gluing foam to foam, and it's not for this application, like if you're utilizing it for something else, or all right, let me completely rewind that. Which question works better on that foam? Okay, super glue on this foam. Hot glue, even when it's on the cold setting, will generally burn through this because it's so thin. This is 2 millimeter foam. Super glue gets absorbed into it and it becomes like rock hard when it cures in there, and it really fuses with the foam. And he's cranking. Nice, nice. Cranking his hog. Here on Instagram or YouTube. We're on YouTube. Working on structures for Coruscant level 13. Oh, yes, your giant thing that you built. That's awesome, man. Stuff. Painting party tonight. Nice. Cleaning and organizing the studio. It's about time. We were so worried about you at the thing. We had the studio discussion and we were like, man, I wish Anthony would clean up that I wish he would clean up that studio. I can't believe I saw a crumpled up ball of paper on the thing, and I was just like, he's living in squalor. Snowflake staring at me like, Dad, what are you doing? I love you. You're so beautiful. Yeah, you're so good girl. You and your mama so bright. Pretty kitty. This is true. 2-part epoxy is foam safe. Tastes terrible though. Foam and epoxy. Second building for your outpost. Congratulations. You've taken you've taken your first step into a much larger world, my friend. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's got to be it. That is absolutely difficult. And it's awesome that you have time to do the things when you can. Never push yourself. Obviously, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but it can be a real bitch. Arthritis, which is affects a lot of people's hands, carpal tunnel, people with fibromyalgia, all regional pain. It's a real motherfucker, and I feel for you. Custom prints of 118. That's awesome. Literal pile of cardboard and packing material. I've been there. And we've got tuna and rye. Sanding the ends of your fingers off. Post-processing some 3D pieces for a contract project. Do you use like a mouse, or are you hand sanding? What is your process for that sanding? Got an idea here. Because when I do 3D prints, when I refine them, I use either filler primer, or I use basically a spot putty slurry, where I use basically the tiny nicks and cuts tube of the red spot filler Bondo, and I thin it with acetone, and I put it on there, and it dries so quick, and it allows me to see where the high points are, and then I use a hand sander or palm sander until I can't, and I have to use my paws, and then I'm just really bitter about the process afterwards. And that's the war knuckle too. It's that left thumb knuckles, your war knuckle. Goldmon Ultimate. Wet sanding with 600 grams. All right, so you're getting close to getting a surface. Everyone who's working on the monthly challenges for Whip Wednesdays, for Little Piece of Art Antiques for your birthday challenge. I still need to go back and watch the remainder of the episode from Wednesday, so I will hear about that birthday challenge then, but you have my curiosity and my attention, so I popped in at the beginning because I wanted to show some love, and I let it run on my TV. It was Valentine's Day, and also Wednesdays I go to my girlfriend's house right after work, so I made sure that was on the television so you guys got some watch time, and made sure I said my hellos first, though. Oh, yeah, this is the way to go. Okay, yeah. So we got fingers for some, toothpicks for others. That's actually on the menu at the nightclub that I used to frequent. Kidding, it's not on the menu. Yep, use your hands for everything. I know my hands have had damage from either the years of working in the kitchen or working for an aerospace company with ergonomic hand tools that were not ergonomic. Give people an impact, a bucking gun with no impact resistant gloves that don't, your whole arm literally shakes, your hand bones, you can feel them shake. I digress. So Kid Connect Space playset that the same one that Eddie's got. Nice. That's Walmart, right? Thane with thumbs up. I watched it. I thought it was fine. I thought it reminded me a lot of it couldn't decide what kind of sci-fi movie it was. So it was like, let me take the neat parts of all these sci-fi movies and just put them all in one sci-fi movie. And that's sincerely the vibe that I got, which is, again, is fine. But there was it felt like Warhammer to me. It felt like it was trying to tell some Warhammer-esque lore, and the guns were, spoiler alert, people have guns in this movie. The guns that they used, the lava guns, I guess they were, lava bolters, they're actually Nerf guns. And that was a real problem for me because I could see that they were Nerf guns because I knew that they were Nerf guns because I'd seen that Nerf gun before. Oh. Did something, snaking a drain back in 2013, caused half of your right hand to go numb. Weird and fucking randomly got feeling back, right? I'm glad you got feeling back. Let's see here. Justin says, that's you, too many years shorter cook. Yep, that shit'll burn up your hands. My thumb has a, I don't know how well this camera is going to pick this up. That spot of my thumb is completely flat for me with a knife once. It's not based off of a larger universe. It's based off of the fact that Zack Snyder wanted to make a Star Wars movie, and Disney said no thank you. And so he said, okay, I'll make my own Star Wars with blackjack and hookers. And I wish that was a joke. I wish that was a joke, but that is a true thing. Yep. Couldn't be a Star Wars. Yep. Precisely. Symbol universe. Yep. I guess he's putting out a director's cut, which is, I guess, kind of like the thing now. Even though the director produced the movie and everything and like directed the movie, then there's a director's cut too that's coming out. And I'm curious to see what that's like in comparison to what it is now. But it's fine. I like the create. I'm like Lord of Thane. I really love the creator, and that was, you know, by the guy that did Rogue One, and it was just really well done science fiction. And I don't want a sequel because I think that would ruin the context of the entire plot of the film and the reason why the film existed, we'll say story-wise. But it was a really enjoyable movie for me. I was very pleasantly surprised. I loved everything about it. The casting, the visuals, the world building that took place in such a small amount of time. Well done to the cast and crew of the creator. The creator is on Hulu and Disney Plus. If you live in a country where Hulu and Disney Plus are on one service, like Germany, but it's also on Hulu. So both like one. Nice. Yeah, it's Rogue One floats around my top two or three Star Wars movies. It constantly moves around, but it's always there. Like, it's so damn good. Yeah, I wish I had seen it in the theater. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had to wait until it came out. I'm in no way a germaphobe, but the general public around here, it's been very high COVID season and high flu season, and people don't seem to get the concept of cover your fucking mouth when you cough, or stay home when you're sick. Don't go out for dinner with a family of 7. And so I was like, going to a movie theater with a bunch of people who are probably coughing and sneezing during peak season here, or wait until I can watch it at home on my big screen TV. And I elected to watch it at home. I would have loved to have seen it on the big screen, but that's the price you pay, right? Rogue One is your number 2, right behind Empire. Nice. For me, it fluctuates. Like I said, it goes from like Rogue One, Episode 3, Solo. which shocks a lot of people, but I unironically loved Solo. Yeah, people. I'm in Walmart. This is like we are in the heat of the pandemic. I bring my mother-in-law to the grocery store. My girlfriend, we have our own carts, separate carts. We're doing our own separate shopping. This was like where they were like, hey, only one person goes, but my girlfriend has fibromyalgia, so she's got to get certain foods, and sometimes I'm the drizzling shits of picking them out. She's particularly about her groceries. Great. We go shopping. Her mom's shopping. We're shopping. And we're there literally watching someone coughing in their hand, not even like covering their mouth to cough, but like like that, like that's their effort to cover their mouth, and then touching stuff, picking things up, looking, and then letting their kid climb on things while their kid's coughing and touching stuff. And it's just like, even if you're one of those people that is like, it's not real, fucking stupid, but like, why do you think it's okay to go to a place where there's food and then cough upon yourself, not even cover or nothing, tissue in front of you, nothing, and then touch things that other people are going to eat? It's fucking gross. It's inconsiderate. And no, my friend, I didn't say I was a German phobe. That'd be funny. Not being a German phobe would be funny, but if I had said German phobe, maybe I'd misspoke, but germaphobe. I'm not, but just when people are completely rude and inconsiderate in public spaces, and like, I had somebody cough, like the first year I went bald, I went to see a movie with my best friend and her husband, and the person behind us, this was an embarrassing famine tale. I don't even know if I should tell this on the stream. Fuck it, I'm going to tell it on the stream. This will be on the internet forever, so I can never run for office. We're in the movie theater. We sit down. We're seeing a movie. People come in behind us. I pay no mind to it. This was way pre-COVID, 2017. And we're sitting there. We're getting ready to watch the movie. Here's somebody coughing. And I'm like, ugh. Person keeps coughing. Now I feel wet. And I'm like, trying to keep my cool. I just want to watch the movie. I don't want an argument. Person coughs on my head again. I'm like, would you knock it the fuck off? I turn around. When I tell you that the person that was coughing on me was a child who was fighting leukemia. I know this because everybody that was in the row with this child had their, fighting cancer for Connor or something, like whatever shirts on with their, like all the stuff. They were there for like a special thing for him to see this movie. I felt like such an asshole. But at the same time, cough, wet, don't cover mouth. I don't get it. I don't get it. Solo was so fun. Anthony said, Thane says Solo's underrated. Anthony says, Bad Guy Rope, when's your favorite? Then the OT, then Solo. I did not see Avatar 2. I haven't sat down to watch it yet. Fifth Element vibe to it. Yeah. Nice. But yeah, I felt like a dick. But at the same time, it's like, just fucking cover your mouth, please. God, I felt so bad. Oh, God. Yeah. Did I miss where we were listing other movies? I think we were just talking about Star Wars and how some of the other movies were like that. I pulled the Avatar question from way back in the chat. Thought I was the only one who didn't see Avatar 2. Yeah, no, I never saw. No, I did see Avatar in the theater, and I watched it once on the DVD the Blu-ray I purchased of it, and then I haven't watched it since. Avatar 2 looked a lot like Avatar to me, which is fine. But I'm in no real rush to see it. Like, if somebody's like, "Hey, you want to sit down and watch Avatar 2 with me?" I'll be like, "Sure," but I'm not. It's not on my list on any streaming platforms. That's for sure. But Solo for me, I think I told this story on Toy Domination, but since we're here, I actually had no intention of seeing Solo, like whatsoever. I had heard things about the film, and I was just like, no, thank you. And it wasn't even things about like the movie itself. It was about the directors and what they were trying to do with the film, and I didn't want to go see it. And then I had a terrible day at work, and it came out right before my birthday. So I called my girlfriend up. I was like, "Hey, I know usually I come over today, but I just had an absolutely shitty day at work. I think I just want to go see a movie. You want to come see Solo with me? I'll go see that new Star Wars movie because, I had a bad day. So why don't I go piss myself off some more?" She was like, "No, but, just stop by and say hello, blah, blah, blah." Or I said I would stop by and say hello. One of the two things happened. So I was like, all right, cool. I get to the theater. It's opening night, or the night before opening night, Thursday night, pre-screening. I get there. I purchase my ticket. They hand me a fucking movie poster. They hand me buttons. They hand me the dice. They give me a cup and a drink and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, it's because I got that particular screening where they were giving away all these freebies. And yeah, it was great. Like, I went in there and I was completely blown away. Like, I thought for sure I was not going to like it. The only thing I didn't like was the naming part. Like, what's your people's name? Well, I don't have any people. All right, Solo. Like, come on. We could have done better than that. That's like truly the only thing that didn't jive with me. I liked Woody Harrelson's character. I liked very much liked Donald Glover's performance. I liked Aaron was his name. Aaron Aldrich. I can't remember the young man's name who played Han. I liked his performance. I liked everybody's performance in that movie, and it was just enjoyable. It had Savick as part of like the plot, which I love. If you've done any deep dives on my channel, you will see I review Savick cards from time to time when I get a set. I actually have somebody sending me a set from the Halcyon since the Star Cruiser is closed, and they happened to get me a set of the Savick cards that they had, which was very kind of them, and I have those coming, so I'll review that. But that's just for me. You know who oddly looks like Harrison Ford the more you stare at him? Was Adam Driver. If you look at pictures of Harrison from the 70s and then look at Adam Driver and really look like he looks oddly like Harrison Ford. I know he's got very prominent features, like a bigger nose bridge and everything, but like he looks weirdly like Harrison Ford. Like it's very surprising. Should have deep fake. I'm of two minds of that, like doing the deep fake thing now. Like they're getting better at it, and I understand, and a lot of the actors are super cool with it, where they're like, yeah, if you can bring me in and I'll do mocap and you put me on somebody younger, like that's really cool. It's they got it right in season 2 of The Mandalorian. I'll give them that. Season 3. But it's, I don't know. I'm of two minds. Like, I feel like they could cast, they have a guy that looks a lot goddamn like Luke Skywalker or Mark Hamill at that age. And his name is Sebastian, and you might've seen him. He was in, what's that called? The Winter Soldier there. He is the Winter Soldier. He's been in a few things. You might know who he is. Looks like a Mark Hamill. Mark, jokes that he's his dad. Like, you've got him. You've also had the young man that plays Luke's body double in The Mandalorian that they pin map him onto, and he plays a good Luke, and Mark Hamill likes him a lot. I think it would be okay to... Oh, that's cool. I think it would be okay to recast some of the original characters. We're going to keep telling stories with them because they did, they're older now. In Germany, they used the same voice actor that they used for Harrison Ford. The German version really made him Han. Didn't work well in English. That makes sense. That's really cool. Yeah, it's straight. I'm like I said, I'm of two minds because I'm like, yeah, that's neat, and I know some of the actors are super into it and love that idea and whatnot. But also, I'm like, probably could just we could probably just do the thing, right? Like, let's get somebody else who can play the role. They can even, especially since the characters exist and you have such a library to pull from, like they can act the part but not pull it off. Like, they don't cheapen it, trust the actors to do the job and do the thing. Also, I did not know that Warwick Davis's character in Solo is actually the same character that is in episode 3. I learned that this morning, which is, I usually pick up on these things or figure those things out early on or learn from an encyclopedia, and I didn't know that. So yeah, there's that. There we are. Yes, he played one of the Enfys Nest people. He was the only little person that was on Enfys Nest's crew. Got to recycle parts before. He's been in every Star Wars since Jedi. Yeah. Not anymore. I shouldn't be frozen anymore. I'm not frozen. Can you all see me now? With the funny helmet, yeah. Just thought there was a neat little bit of Star Wars lore that I hadn't learned. I did not see Willow. Willow is one of those, I never had any interest in it, so I never got into it. And then when they made the show, people got all excited, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. It's great for the people that want to see it. It just wasn't really my jam. All right, so I've kind of neatened up the railing there with some foam. And that was just foam strips cut to mask that up. And now I can expand it and make it taller. I think I'll do 4 posts straight up. And from there, I'll figure out what kind of, if I just want to do a railing across the top or an awning or something. I don't know. But that's neat. I'm glad that worked out. Let's see here. I think I can cover that with a piece of cardboard while I'm here. Get a piece of cardstock on it. And again, this is the box. It was a box of Texas toast, and I've just been using chunks of it, bits and pieces, to cut to make the pieces and strips. And I've been using pretty much blade, regular crappy super glue, the runny stuff. And yeah, I cut these pieces out, gave them that sci-fi panel effect. I probably could have spaced them a little bit better, but I don't care. Rule of 10 feet for me. Straws, drinking straws to make the pipes, foam scraps to make the little ringlets to hold the pipes in place. Sometimes I made it as a collar for the pipe. I'm going to put a drain spout here. I actually decided that'd be a neat little gutter thing, like spout out with some water trickling out. And I'm just making I had all this stuff from scrap. I did a stream on Tuesday using pure garbage. It was all garbage. This foam was garbage from my old job. I saved out of a dumpster, and I had it in my basement, so I figured I'd put it to use. This toy was something that I found next to a dumpster that I rescued. All the straws, I saved my like Dunkin' straws if I don't bring a reusable straw with me, because like I feel like that's kind of wasteful at this point. Like, so I saved my Dunkin' straws, wash them out, hot water, soap, and then let them dry, and I use them for this type of stuff. And then the cardboard Texas toast thing. And yeah. Hey, have a good morning. Get something delicious, man. Enjoy. Thanks for stopping in, Lord Thane. Go watch him and Pirates of the Galaxy on Wednesdays. Yeah, pipes. That's one thing for me. It's like I like in my sci-fi is the trope of the external wires on the walls and the plumbing and the pipe work. I think you should cut a chunk of front foam to show the material underneath, plastered or bricked over. Gonna be doing that here in the back. I'm actually gonna be doing some brickwork as trim along the bottoms, and there's gonna be a couple of spaces where it's visible, the stone that's behind it, so it'll be that two-tone. I don't know that I want to do that on the front. I might. I don't know. I kind of like where it's at right now, but we shall see. There's plenty of opportunity. I'm just going to keep building on this thing. I like it. It's like literally this cost me fucking nothing except for the Mod Podge and time, you know? And yeah, you can see like this was stepped on in the dumpster. People were using it to push down other pieces of foam in the dumpster, climb on the dumpster. Oh, and that's the other thing I did this week. My patrons got a couple of clips on this. And I did a reel on this process, but like I made bricks out of my scraps. I just keep making bricks because I've been doing a lot of like hand-laid brickwork. So I figure I'll just cut them ahead of time. This way, when I need them, I can pull them instead of making bricks and getting there. Just a way for me to get ahead of the curve a little bit, make my building process a little bit easier and a little bit faster. I need to cut a piece of foam to go in here because I don't like, number one, this hot glue mess that I have there. And then I need to cut a piece of cardboard to block this off. But right now I'm just going to make a piece of cardboard to top this to make that neat because it's got those cut marks and stuff. And I don't want those there. Thank you. Thank you. There's going to be underneath the roof. I think I actually may brick the roof because that's completely flat. I didn't roll stone texture or anything. I think that might be neat, like a bricked roof. And also it's going to have some wires, you know, doing that thing, the traditional wire thing. Probably put some graffiti tags or whatnot. There's going to be a droid socket. Yeah. But as I was saying, one of my favorite sci-fi tropes is the conduit that runs along the outsides of buildings, wires bolted to the outside pipes and things like that. And there is cryptids that will live in Gimmick, and I have Mothmando as the base of my Mothman that I'm going to be making. So I was going to work on him tonight, but that's like really involved. I'll probably have to get a Dremel and all that stuff, and I don't know that I want to do that on camera with the noise and the pets right here. So he will in time. Maybe I'll do a Chewbacca Wookiee. Or a Chewbacca Wookiee. A Bigfoot Wookiee. There we go. Out of a Chewbacca figure. There's the words that I was trying to say in that order. Mothman. It's tough to find him. I'm not gonna lie to you. I paid. I never saw him in store, so I think I paid like 20 something for him. Don't tell me that how much I paid for it. But yeah, if you can find him in bulk, I envy you. That's really kick ass. I'm gonna be giving him Hawkman's wings from. Couple of them. Nice. Awesome. Ralph Concept Wookiee. Chewbacca Cabra. That's fucking funny. Would that be a Wookiee sucker? No. No. That's Maz Kanata. Ooh. Where's my boyfriend? Hi, Maz. Yeah, I'm waiting for him to go on clearance at ours to stock up on him because I have Tarful and the Wookiee Warrior and stuff like that, and I can also sculpt the hair to build him. But yeah, I've got one of him, and he's a really great figure. Black Chrysanthemum for those playing along at home. Bad lip reading in Force Awakens. All right. And for those playing along at home that are watching what the hell I'm doing and wondering, like I said, I'm just making a little cardboard cap to cover up that terrible cut job that I did. Yeah, the mug. The mug is really cool. The Luron fruit that it comes with. The electric knuckles, the hand swaps. I want the San Diego Comic-Con version was on sale on Pulse, but like even after the rebates and discounts and everything, you're still paying like $38 for it. I was fucking stuck sideways on that because I'd love that other head, the yelling head that he's got, but what can you do? Sometimes you just can't force myself to pay Hasbro's prices. And I'm not a shill for Hasbro, but I do like their stuff. But like sometimes I'm just not. I'm sorry. Fuck off. You know, like just not going to do that. Sorry, Steve Hasbro. You need to fucking just give me the figure with the head. I know I'm not entitled to it, but yeah, all the time. Dude, you're basically, even after the discount, once they add the shipping and stuff, unless you have Pulse, then you may get it for discounted shipping. But like, I thought it was a crime for what they asked for shipping on top of the discount, quote unquote, because you're paying just about as much as it was at the convention. Like you're paying for them for the fact that they didn't sell out. Oh, wow. I actually just broke the skin of the Mod Podge that I put on here and cut it. That's pretty thick. I'm going to have to re-Mod Podge that, obviously, and I also have now foam on here. I don't know. Sometimes those things sell out quickly. Other times they stay there for a while, so I can't give you a solid on that one. Yeah, and I just, the only difference is you get the special packaging for San Diego Comic-Con. I get that people might get geeked for that, but also It comes with the screaming head, and also the other accessory that you get is his axe from the comics, which wasn't in the show, but they included it in, and it came out way before this one, and that was the special part of it. So it just depends on how much that means to you, you know? All right. That would be interesting. Bet I could do that. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go crazy on that. And I'm just making little trim pieces, trimming up some of the edges and whatnot. A little more super glue there. Hold on. Go. Oh, Joe! Wow, really? Good for you. Good for you. I got a Coleman Trebor for like $3 at a convention. I was fucking psyched about that. Yes, sir. I was fucking amped. Star Wars fan, but my son is. I really like the Wookiees and some of the racist vehicles for ships. Star Wars never got into sci-fi as a kid until recently. We got into sci-fi. Dude, that's all. It's never too late to fucking get into sci-fi, and you know, Star Wars ain't a bad place to start, but there's so much good sci-fi out there. You know. And that's we do not we don't like sci-fi gatekeep. I don't know how you would say it. We don't, you know, nobody here is going to slate you because you're not an X fan or Y fan or whatever. I am, at least on my channel, I'm pretty agnostic. I like whatever, and I like sci-fi, and shit's cool. And if it's cool and people want to be a fan of it, like, let's go. Let's all be fans of it. Like, yeah, why did I do that? Why didn't I just use the other one? I'm talking to myself now, which means that I'm tired. Black Series. Coleman was it? Deal with Coleman was it? The one from episode 3. Yeah, he's on. That's the thing, is he was on sale for $20, and then I wound up with the shipping and everything. It wound up being like $38. I couldn't believe it. I was almost paying twice the figure, twice the cost of the figure. Yeah. I'll show you guys something I've been sneakily working on all day today. Well, not all day today. I had other stuff to do, but just a little scrap quickie build. That's actually that's inspiration for a t-shirt right there. We don't Stargate keep here at Famine Studios. That's a good one. But I made another little tabletop gun. Can sit on a surface. Just be, yeah. And that's just 3 pieces. That's a small Simply Juice lid and a small there's like a threaded cap over top of a pill bottle, and this toy gun is like 30 years old, at least 25 years old, and I had it with my old play set. And I just threw it in my parts bin. Don't know what it's from, but there you go. And I'll paint that all black and add some detail to it, but for the low price of free. Or if you were into tabletop games, you could do this, and literally there's your tabletop gun turret or train. Oh, that's cool. Excuse me while I blow my nose. But yeah, no, it's I thought it was a little silly what they were asking for the shipping on that. Nice. One of the items that is a Patreon, a perk for my patrons is printable agnostic signage. So it won't be, not all of it will be Star Wars specific. Some of it will be just generic sci-fi signage, panels and stuff. And it's going to be some neat shit. I'm very excited about that. I have some designs drawn out. I need to start mapping them onto paper, and it's a digital download. And for the people that are at the higher tier, which I have a few people on the higher tier, which is very exciting for me, they'll be getting a physical one, and then later certain designs will be available for purchase or download by people that aren't patrons that just want to pick up that type of stuff. But I'm very excited about it. Jurassic World meets AVP. That's fun. I'm guessing predators hunting dinosaurs. I've got on the drawing board, since I have about 14 goddamn T-Rexes because they kept issuing the same T-Rex mold with every vehicle. I've got a queen T-Rex coming down the pipe, which was the little Easter egg that I added to my story today on Instagram about the live that we were on World Makers Consortium earlier. So for those paying attention at home, a little bit of lore for you. But I will certainly give a shout out for you for Frank's Diorama Workshop, and I'll have to check it out. Maybe they have something neat that I like. Yeah, I thought so. I wanted to provide something that, a lot of all of us do. What we do is we go online and we find some posters, and maybe we edit it up in like Microsoft Paint. We print it out and cut it and stick it on. But it's usually like, scroll through Instagram, chase the hashtags. It's usually like Coke. I've got it. It's like Coca-Cola or Nuka-Cola or, Wayland Yutani, things like that. Like, that's all good, fine, and dandy. But there's a distinct lack of, like, sci-fi, science fiction-based signage that could be world building that'll be really neat. And I think that's a great way to give something that people can use, can print out on their own paper of choice, their own cardstock of choice, whatever they want to use. And, go watch that episode. Thank you. Yeah, T-Rex Xenomorph Queen. I'm excited about that. I have plenty of epoxy because I'm going to need it. I've got my green stuff. I have my Predator parts for my Predators, potentially. I've got to get some more Predators for Anthony or Xenomorphs. There's a place I just need to get up that way and visit, but it's kind of out of the way at this point right now. They have a lot of the high Predators and Xenomorphs at really inexpensive prices, which is nice. And the owner was really nice too and like friendly to talk to, so that's always a plus when I work on this stuff and I talk to them, let them know what I'm doing. Like, he would let me film in there. I made a quick reel for him, a little vlog reel, and I was like, hey, I've been following this, this person, or I've been going here and shopping here, like, check this out. You've done Dino Xenomorph crossovers, printed them out. I'd love to see those. That sounds fucking neat. Xenomorph dinosaur looks like a T-Rex, but has a saddle. Nice. I want to do a xenomorph velociraptor, but that sounds like that's like giving Batman Superman's powers. Like, I feel like it's just like that's the most deadly fucking vicious thing possible. It feels like overkill. I don't know. Who knows? But with that, I'm going to set this aside here. I do want to thank you all for tuning in on this wonderful first time that we do this cryptid thing. And like I said, I want to start making this a, at least a once a month thing where we do the spooky cryptid thing on a Friday. I hope you guys have had excellent night. Thank you for hanging out for 3 hours. It's amazing. If you're not already, subscribe here on YouTube. Hit the like button on your way out if you didn't smack it on the way in. If you want to support on Patreon, it's Famine Studios 262. I don't know why it made it 262, but here we are. And thank you guys for tuning in, and you can wave goodbye, Mothman. Goodbye. Bye. Have a good night. Bye. Bye. Don't go on any bridges. Bye. Bye. Bye.